Okay. Ready to get started?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Cool, cool. So welcome back, I guess. You've been back for a bit.
I've been back, I think, a week, I would say.
Mm. Okay, that's still pretty fresh then. And how's it been so far? Overwhelming
Uh,
or
I think it's overwhelming.
uh-huh.
I don't know where to go from here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can't remember if I knew where I was going before I left. But
Okay.
definitely now I'm just like, what's next? Like, what do I strive for?
Right.
Just a lost soul over here.
Okay, well let's see if we can get you some direction. I feel like the who's the guy in the with the boat who gets the souls across the river Styx? That one guy. Got like your two gold coins, and then I take you from one side of the river to the other.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, whoever that guy was. Yeah, sure. Okay, so, well, yeah. I guess point one is to kind of like figure out where do you want to go? Are you someone who has seen something in the game and you're like, that would be really cool if I was able to do that, but I have no idea how far that is, if that's even possible.
I mean, the ultimate goal for every Maple player is the Genesis weapon. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to get late game. I mean, I
Yep.
haven't. I've only done normal Lucid
Yep.
in a party. And maybe strive for hard Lucid from there. Then I can think about Genesis weapons. I don't want to strike too far
Yeah, no, there's
because I
definitely
do.
steps to the process. Yeah, for sure. But
Yeah,
it'd be
because
really cool if you could have like a Genesis weapon one day.
yeah, one day.
Okay, okay.
Um, I mean, in the past, like 2 years ago, I was saying that I want to do Lucid. I solo those now, so it's like
Yeah,
I met that goal.
yeah. If you're gone for a while, then you leave for another 2 years, and you come back, and then you just solo Black Mage.
Yeah, I mean, might as well. But yeah, I
Um,
think
yeah,
I just harder bosses at the end. Normal
yeah.
Lucid, normal Damien. I do those by myself now. I could trade
Mm-hmm.
them, but maybe strive for
Lucid or
harder.
Lotus?
Lotus and
Lotus and
Damien.
Damien. Yeah.
Sorry,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, no
I
worries.
do
I do mess them up all the time. No worries.
Lotus and Damien. I do by myself. I trade them, but I would like to get into harder bosses. I think that's my goal.
You trade them as in like you
Like,
for other characters,
uh,
or
yeah, for other characters.
right? So you're trying to get some boss mules into Abzo. Is that what
Yeah,
you're working on?
definitely boss mills
Okay.
in the app. So
Yeah. Oh wait, is this one without the Legion picture?
I think
Oh, hang on. Let me open. Hang on, let me open
the
the other one.
very last. I think I the last one I forgot the Legion picture. Oh man, there's too many things to upload, and then when I do upload them, it's just
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the reason I usually use Imgur because you just upload a bunch of screenshots, and then it turns it into an album. You can't really forget anything in there. Yeah, there's like a few ways of doing it. Some people just use like a Google Doc, and then you just like drag them in there, and then you could do that different pages and stuff. Because I guess if you make a PDF, then you constantly have to like
yeah,
re-upload it, and then so yeah, you have to drag everything back in every single time, right? And then convert it to a PDF.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, no worries. We'll figure it out. Yeah, so we're at Lotus and Damien solo, but you're exchanging them for bossing mules, so you're getting what, the Dawn Warrior
Yeah, the
up
Dawn
into
Warrior.
Abzo.
Uh, Dawn Warrior. Like I can't remember exactly. Like this whole week, I haven't really been uh, doing. I would say I haven't been doing dailies and all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. I just been getting back into the game,
Mm-hmm.
trying to level up really because of the hyper burning. So I think it's,
Yep.
in my opinion, it's more worth my time since I'll have a lot of it to just grind rather than getting some dailies in. But
Mm-hmm.
my sorry if I didn't know this, but I guess they changed dailies where you could just kill any monster
Yep.
and it's just a region thing. So
Yep.
I could have done that super fast. Yeah, I
Yeah,
did it
it's really
today, and it
quick
was like
now. Mm-hmm.
super fast. It was like
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the things you
Like
just have to
some,
kind of experiment with. But it's hard for me to say like, oh, here are all the things that changed in the last 2 years because it's just so much.
yeah.
So some things that are just you kind of will have to experience by yourself because if you had to go over all that, it'd be like a 10-hour session. But there's definitely a lot of value in the dailies, and it's just as simple as activating the daily for a region, and then just killing any monster in that region will give you a count on top, like monsters left in the region, and then you just kill all of them, and boom, you're done pretty quickly. There's one of the main things that they did is that they added a lot of daily EXP or a lot of EXP to the dailies and the weeklies, and they took away in Reboot, especially with this update, a lot of EXP from the monsters that you kill. So the long-term grinding is not going to be as beneficial anymore. Like up to 260, it's kind of a wash because they also cut the EXP that you need to level. So it's close to a wash if you're not... Well, if you used to be doing like 12-hour a day grinding or something, you're definitely not going to level as quickly anymore. But if you're doing like up to 2 hours a day or something, you're going to be leveling at like the same speed if you're also doing your dailies, basically. But past 260, it's slowed down a lot. But if you're trying to get the... So I'm assuming the Adele is the hyperburn. Trying to get that one up to 260.
Yeah, that was hyperburn.
Yeah, and you didn't do any of the
yeah,
you didn't do the login thing for the journey to the 6-star and everything, right?
What?
Yeah, it was like an event just before this one where there was like a lot of rewards.
I think I came back a day before the Black Friday sale.
Okay, yeah.
One of those two.
Yeah, because those people have like 6 magnificent growth pots that you can use once you reach 250, and then you just instantly 260. So for those people, there's no like rush to daily grind to make sure that you get to 260, because you can just do some random dailies and just work on your entire account, work on Legion Mules, work on all that stuff, and then once you hit 250, just automatically through dailies and weeklies, then you just slam up to 260 and boom, then you have your goal met. I can't quite go that far with my character either because I already used some of the potions, so I have to go up to 255. But that kind of puts a different time perspective in like how much you should be grinding versus how much you can just more like play for the account, right?
This is actually true. I mean, right now all I do is I do grind. I grind up until those daily like EXP buffs.
Yeah,
after you collect
the 30 explosions.
I grind those out with like MVPs and EXP cards, and then. I move on, do 0 to 100 for some more Legion, and then I do things that I want to like 210 for better links or Legions.
Yeah,
I use the little island, whatever it's called.
Oh yes, the food storage.
The food
thing.
Storage, the food storage. And then those are what I do on my off time when I'm not on my Adele.
Yeah,
but really, I only have enough time to get those EXP buffs out, and then boom, I gotta go move on to another thing.
Yeah. Do you do Monster Park?
I do Monster Park every day, yeah.
Yeah.
On my Adele.
Yeah, you do the full 7? Yeah.
I do full 7.
Yeah, okay. Because that's a big chunk of daily EXP as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. On Sunday? Yep. Oh my goodness.
Yep, yeah, yesterday was a nice little chunk there. Okay, because for me, I just leveled the day before yesterday, so this EXP is from doing simple dailies yesterday and today, Monster Park yesterday and today, and then the simple weeklies from today, and then finishing up like half an hour coupon. And that's 98% at level 243.
Yeah, it definitely does feel a lot smoother for EXP than it was 2 years ago. I mean,
yeah, that's standard EXP, right? If you're not grinding, that went way up, but then the grinding EXP went down. So. But it's a combination, right? They increased the XP a little bit, but they also cut the XP that you need by a significant amount in the New Age update. So that's why you're getting so much more % per day.
Oh, yeah. I was like, man, I remember doing totems, getting like 5-10%, you know, you're like not trying, but like getting that percentage. And now I'm like getting 5% and not even.
Yeah. Yeah. EXP needed in 250s is down by like from 240 to 250, I think it's down like 45% or something, and from 250 to 260, it's down by like 55%. But the XP per monsters also went down a lot. It went down by like somewhere between like 40 and 50% as well. So that kind of averages out for us. But yeah, you'll see the dailies give you a huge chunk because of that. So those dailies and those daily chunks will disproportionately give you a lot of EXP per day so that you can keep seeing that steady progress together with Monster Park, right? To make sure that you can keep steadily going up to 250 and beyond to finish up to 260. But you're basically you're 14 levels away, so you're 5 level ups away from hitting 260, right?
Yeah.
So it's
I'm, like,
that makes it
halfway
feel
to
more
the
manageable than
It
14
does
levels, I
feel-
guess.
It does feel. I wanted a hybrid run another character, but I
Mhm.
felt like my Adele just needed that push to get to 60. So
Yeah, and if
I
you have
just moved
limited
to
time, it makes sense to have like one guaranteed 260, then to have one character that you'd have to push very hard on to get to 260, and then have a main character that will kind of be stuck under 250, but that will be actually stronger, that you want to prioritize, but then it can't get 6 jobs. Yeah, it'll be a weird situation for your account. So I understand this this choice. I don't think it's a bad choice considering. So in player profile, so you have, would you say like roughly like an hour a day to play, maybe more on the weekends, something like that?
I usually play like I would say 2 hours, 2-3
Mhm.
hours a day.
Okay.
That's my rough estimate.
Yeah, I don't feel bad. Some people do 12 to 14, so it's not like you're gonna
Yeah,
get any
you're one
dirty
of them.
looks
You're
here.
one of them. I saw you
and-
12-hour stream.
Yeah, but we put in some hours. And okay, yeah. So and you were doing normal Lotus, normal Damien, and you did some Lucid in a party.
Yeah, I did a normal listening party. I haven't
Normal
done
listening party.
slime yet. Like I feel like I can do slime. I haven't
Mhm.
done yet, just solely because I don't know the mechanics, so I don't feel like going in. Maybe that's my lazy part of me, just not wanting to go in.
Yeah, but how can you really know the mechanics and how to do them without ever going in, right? Something
True.
chicken egg.
Okay.
You can
I
do
hear
some
the
research
shade.
beforehand, but unless you go in, you can't really know exactly what it's like. You can read all the guides in the world and watch all the other people do it in videos, but I feel like unless you just go in and try, that's another thing that's changed a lot, is that all the bosses have practice modes and everything now. Plus you have 3 boss entries per boss per day, and there's no cooldown in between anymore. So let's say that you do go into a normal one and you know what you're doing, or into a boss and you know what you're doing, but like the Lotus Laser does something fucky and you'd lose like 2 or 3 lives in P1 and you're like, oh, this run is fucked. You could just go out, wait for your cooldowns, and go right back in with your buffs.
Yeah.
So that's a huge increase. And then the buff freezers are all passive now. You probably noticed that.
I
So
did
you don't
not.
have to- So you don't have to go
I
to cash up
remember
and buy.
dying once,
Mm-hmm.
but my infinite blade, it stayed active after my
Mhm.
death. I was like,
Yep.
I've never seen that happen. Is that something?
Yeah, so in
new?
the past that didn't even get
So-
saved by buff freezers. Then they updated that it got saved by buff freezers, and then they updated that buff freezers are passive now, so you don't have to go into cash up to buy them, and it just every time you die, you automatically save all your buffs on death. So yeah, no more having to go
making
into cash up. That saves you
Definitely
money. That
easy
saves you
mode
time.
now.
Yeah, exactly. So the combination of not having to go into cash up plus not having the boss cooldown anymore makes it so that if you fuck something up, you could just go right back in. If you fuck it up 3 times, then you got to go the next day. But that's what practice mode is for as well, right? So that you can make sure you get the mechanics down a lot better before you go for the real thing.
Yep. I mean,
Um,
that's healthy
mhm.
information. I mean, I haven't.
Yeah, it's a
wondered it,
huge quality
but
of
never
life, I
looked
feel.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah, that's rather recent. That's probably in the last.
Also,
Yeah,
you can't buy
last
cubes
updates.
every day. Like, you can't just buy cubes. Or is it?
You can buy
Like,
cubes,
when I go
but
to
they're
my
they're not in
when I go
cash
to my
up anymore.
cash shop for it, they're not in cash shop. Oh, where?
Yeah,
are
they took them out. So they're in the quick move now. If you press quick move in town map, there's a cube thing. So there was a
Oh.
cube sale that last Sunday, so they were in the cash up then. Because it was special,
Oh,
like a
that's
cash up
see.
sale. Yeah.
I was like, I'm literally like, I got like 7 bill. I want to
Mhm.
get some cubing in. Not
Yeah,
in
you
the
try-
cash shop.
Trying to
I'm like, I don't
gamba,
even-
and they're like stopping you.
But yeah, I
Yeah, that's where they are.
put stats for my grinding and my
Mm-hmm.
bossing. The one with the less strength is definitely my grinding.
What are you specifically talking about now?
But I have 2 character stats out. One's for grinding, like say, the 24k is for my grinding, and the about 27k is for my bossing. They're 2 different stats, 2 different.
Oh yeah, gotcha. 2 windows.
Yeah.
Yeah, different hyperstats
Um,
probably. Yeah,
But for
bonus
other than
EXP.
that, I think I took your information in from the last one.
Mm-hmm.
I got my triple nodes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have so many slots open that I shouldn't
Yep.
have in
Yeah.
V Matrix,
So that's
but
another thing
I
that
don't know
changed
what
a
to put
lot.
them in.
Yeah, so they you unlock the slots faster. So by 260, it's going to be completely filled out, opened up. So you have 25 slots by then. So what this basically means that you already have like level 60 nodes, and you've got your tri nodes, and you're going to max out regardless. So it doesn't really matter. But for if you're making bossing mules, for example, what you could do is you can make very low level nodes, and also use a bunch of them that are like mostly useless. That maybe only one or two of the skills are useful, but then you can put them in high level node slots, and that way get very high levels for your main attacking skills without spending a lot of nodes on your character. So it'll make funding characters a lot cheaper in terms of the matrix department.
Okay.
Does that make
So
sense?
me having these nodes open, that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. Like it's not, I'm
Yeah,
not
you're not.
missing anything really.
No, we can look at like the order and everything, but you have all of the slots maxed, so there's not like any priority that needs to change either, right? Like typically your
Yeah, yeah.
advanced blessing and your sharp eyes, you wouldn't really need to put them in a leveled up slot, but it's not like there's anything else. The
Yeah,
things that you
like
don't have here, I guess you don't have decent advanced combat orders, decent combat orders. That could give you some extra damage if you have one of those.
yeah, I can craft it, so that's good to know. I mean,
Well, I
I have
wouldn't craft
1,000
it, but
nodes.
eventually you'll open one.
Oh, okay, true, true,
It's
true.
not that important, but just open. If you open one, just hold on to it. Be sure you lock all your nodes though, so that in the future, if you do switch out anything, you don't accidentally like disassemble them.
Okay,
Use
okay.
like right-click lock all of the important ones. So decent combat orders, and then you have your goddess blessing. That's going to add a lot of damage to your bossing. So it looks like a blue empress kind of thing. What else is coming? Impenetrable skin. Yeah, that's another one. That's going to be bossing skill that gives you knockdown resistance, and then every time you get hit, you do a little bit more damage. Pretty short duration, but it's going to help with burst. And you probably noticed that weapon aura works differently, right, than before.
Yeah, the weapon art does work differently.
Mm-hmm.
I've used it for bosses, but it feels different in a way that like I didn't feel like looking into it. But maybe that's because I'm lazy.
Yeah, so
But
weapon
it definitely
aura
does feel.
and goddess blessing as well. They work differently now for and a lot of skills for a lot of other characters also notice work in the same way. So instead of just having straight up cooldown and then some downtime, they just build up charges, and then the charge buildup has cooldown, but if you build up charges for a longer time, then you can use them back to back if you want to for certain boss fights. So you have a little bit more flexibility in that you can keep the downtime in between if that makes sense for the boss fight, or you can put them back to back. But yeah, unfortunately, you can also make them overlap. So if you do have one charge going and you press the button again, it's just going to restart it, and then you lose that extra duration. So you have to be a little bit careful not to slam the key too hard.
Okay, so it's a key press now, and instead of just auto swing, it goes by
No. So you
itself.
do still press the button to just activate the buff,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
as soon as one runs out, then one charge is down, and then the next charge already starts recharging while the buff is going. So you're not going to have like 100% uptime, but Weapon Aura is a pretty high value skill node, and I think for Adele, if I'm not mistaken, it's the second highest right after Infinity Blade, because it increases in duration, and it gives you final damage and ID as well, and then the extra damage from the
Okay.
swipe. So it is a high priority one to level up. But basically, we just and because of the higher level and because of the charge system, the uptime on it will go up as well. And then both for mobbing and for bossing will be helpful to bring your damage up. So as soon as you press one, you just get the buff like before. But then as soon as it runs out, instead of then having cooldown until you can use it again, as long as you have a charge, you can immediately activate that charge and just reactivate the skill. And it's only you have to do the math based on the level and the uptime of the current level of the skill, right? But once it's maxed out, you do have very little downtime of it. And then ideally, once you get to certain boss fights, there will be some dead time, like there will be some tests, or the boss will be not hittable, or it will be flying around. And then ideally, the time that you don't have the skill up will synchronize with that, and then you just wait a little bit, and then that will help the general uptime of the skill as a buff. So you have to keep just a little bit closer eye on it, essentially. And
Okay.
and conversion overdrive has a similar change. That it works with the stacks, but it also has an internal cooldown, so you can't like overlap it with each other. But other skills don't have that for some reason. Welcome back to MapleStory. But you don't have conversion overdrive yet. That's more that's the Flora skill, with like the blue wings.
I see it.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. I think let's be honest, I definitely dismantled that like 2 days ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you definitely want to use that. If you max that one out, that goes up to 40% extra damage when you're bossing, and then does some extra explosions every now and then. And then those explosions are also useful for mobbing, to make sure that you just kill some stragglers around the map that maybe don't get caught by your skills, right? So ideally, when you're mobbing, you want to kind of stagger all the skills. You want to maybe use like a noble summons here and there. You want to use a bloom here and there, but like alternate between them, so they're always like hitting monsters that maybe are out of your range, and then maybe Storm and Infinity Blade, right? You always use them separately, but then when you're bossing, you tend to want to use all your buffs, bind the boss, and then use all the nukes like at the same time to optimize your damage within a short time frame, right? That's like the general difference between mobbing and bossing between them. You've got a lot of stuff flying around as an Adele, so you can go to a pretty big map, and then everything kind of gets picked off just because there's a lot of stuff flying around.
I'll take that knowledge into like a practice mode of like a harder boss and just try to maybe work it down.
Yeah, so typically you want to press like your burst skills and your buffs first that have the longest duration, right? Because you really want to have that as soon as you press bind, and that 10-second window starts when the boss cannot move. That's when you want to be confirming as much damage as possible. So for you, all of the skills that last longer than 10 seconds in like order of duration, like weapon aura has to be on, right? Then you have your oh god, now you're testing my knowledge of the name of all the skills, but you're looking at the the wings.
Legacy Restoration?
Yes, that, yeah. I was definitely about to say that. Legacy Restoration, yeah. That, I think...
Maybe Destruction?
It has a Destruction, good yeah, that bit usually goes on the floor. So, let's say you're doing like Damien, right? Example, we were talking about that a little bit earlier in the stream as well. So, the thing with Damien is you don't want him to be doing like a very important pattern that can do a lot of damage and kill you, yeah. And you also don't want the sword to be landing right on top of you mid-burst, right? Because that's just very annoying. Even though you can iframe a little bit, you can't just stand in that, because then you have to jump out, and then you might lose some damage either dodging or just being out of range, right? So the main things for Adele that you want to keep up is you want to keep up Grave Proclamation. That's an IED debuff on the boss. It's a hyper skill, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. That one changed quite a bit in the past. They lowered the cooldown on that significantly and lowered the damage to make sure that you can apply to like different bodies of a boss if it switches quickly, for example. You have that on a key? Grave Proclamation, yeah, it's like I was going to say it's like a blue and purpley skill, but that's like 90% of your skill icons.
Yeah.
I thought it's a hyper skill, but... Is it not?
I'm so lost. It's a hyper skill?
I thought so, but maybe it's fourth job?
Flame Torment?
I might be mistaken.
Oh, it's a fourth job. It's the... You mean if you sack 2, you get a file damage bonus? Like those things?
No, that's like Resonance Rush, those stacks. But that's the other thing. Yeah, so Resonance Rush is like a personal thing you need to keep up, but you need to have a target for that. And Grave Proclamation is a debuff on the boss that you want to keep up. Because of, how important IED is, remember?
It basically targets them, and then... Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, they have a debuff on. You can also see, like, if it's a boss that's, like, teleporting around, or if it's, like, Vellum, then you can also, if they keep the debuff, you can see where they're going to pop up, right? Because the debuff will be over the floor, so it helps for that as well, for visibility. Yeah, the rush stacks is 1, so that's IED and... No, that's... Is it IED? Yeah, it's IED and... Is it attack percent?
IED and boss final damage, yeah, I think...
Final damage, yeah. So that's one that you need to keep up, and the other one is the Grave Proclamation. So that's like the passive stuff you need to be thinking about to like just pop every now and then to make sure that those buffs are staying up. And then the other thing is so that you look for the fact that the sword is like, his sword is in the ground and Damien is doing something. That's a good moment for you because you probably can't be hitting him too much anyway. And then you can jump out of the way and then prep your buffs. So in the order of the length of the duration of the buff. So you might even pop like Infinity Blade and stuff like that away from the boss. Even though it's like more an attacking skill, it's also kind of like a buff for 30 seconds. Because you want to make sure that once the boss is bound for 10 seconds, you're not like popping 3 or 4 more skills, because then you're losing 1, 2, 3 seconds of the burst, and only during 70% of the burst you're actually going to be doing bursting. You want to be doing as close to 100% as possible. So the main thing that you want to do is you want to do like Noble Summons and Bloom. You want to make sure that your Ruin completely hits, and that you hit as much of your Infinity Blade as possible, and your Storm, right? And then just cleave as much as possible. Essentially, that's what you're looking for. If right before the bind you can pop like a Rain of Destruction on the ground and then have him spawn right in it, then bind him and then pop those other ones, Infinity Blade before, right? Then you can optimize your damage like within that time frame. Damien has some extra stuff where, you know, if he's in the air, you can do like your up jump and float a little bit, cleave in the air. And then when you're landing, if there's a fireball underneath you, you can either feather step backwards. If there's nothing underneath you, you can plummet down, so you can go up quicker and then float again. And then you can get some hits in as well while he's in the air, but that's more like to min-max your damage. And him being up in the air is also a good moment for you to Ruin, because your Ruin will hit if he's up in the air. And he's up in the air quite a bit, but Ruin comes up every 60 seconds, and the burst will only be every 2 seconds. So if you can squeeze that in like right in between your burst, then you might want to do that. If it's already close to your burst, better to hold on to it and then wait for your other bursting skills, right? So because then the Ruin will be stronger if you pop it with the other stuff rather than by itself. But that's more a situational thing. Yeah, so which skills did we have? We had Conversion Overdrive, Decent Combat Orders, Impenetrable Skin, Adele. Jeez, I should just log into my Adele and just look, honestly.
Weapon
yeah, there's other skill, Blink, and Urda. What's it called? Why am I clicking back on
Urda Shower?
Yeah, so Urda Shower, that also has like Urda Fountain mode. Have you ever used that?
No, I have the node. I've just never used it. I've never put it on my bar, I would say, my V matrix.
Yeah, I mean, you have 7 slots, so you could basically just equip everything that you have, right? And kind of just see what it does. So Urda, if you use Urda Shower, it's just an AoE skill, and then the more monsters it hits, when they die afterwards, they lower the cooldown of the skill. So then you can use it as an AoE. That's good for some classes. You probably don't need that as much because you've got a bunch of stuff flying around already. So what the function for you that's probably better is to use it as the fountain, which means you either use it with the down arrow key when you activate it, or you right-click it in the skill tab itself, and then it automatically comes out as the secondary function, as the fountain, and then it's a summon. And then every time you kill 15 monsters in a map, it'll explode and attack the monsters around it. So then you can use it as a stationary summon for part of the map that maybe is harder to reach, for example.
Okay, so it's more of a...
Oh, look, I have 7 slots available as well, just like you. See, so I could just throw all of these in there as well. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom. I even have a hyper body. That's a bit... Yeah, I don't even have enough to fill it out either. It's the same problem. And 30 matrix points.
So for true Arcnig... Sorry, Arc...
Oh, and Grand Goddess Blessing. Yeah?
Reflection? Do I use that? I mean, I've had that forever.
Yeah, so that's a big summon as well. That's the skill you get from killing Will, right? Killing Hard Will. It's a strong summon. It's a big AoE, so it could just kill monsters around you. Let's say that there are monsters a bit further away from you, like when you're mobbing. But when you're bossing, it's also a stationary summon after that. So if there is it's an extra damage skill, and you have room for it, so you might as well put it in there.
Okay. And then last thing I have for V Matrix is I have a lot of EXP nodes.
Okay.
Do I prioritize? I level up Infinity Blade, and then I put the rest on Weapon Aura, and then like is that my 1, 2, and then is there like a third I go for?
Yeah, so Weapon Aura is useful. Decent Holy Symbol gives you more EXP and a bit more drop rate, so that's also nice to level. I'm not a huge fan of like hardcore maxing out nodes, but I usually like to get nodes close to max, if that makes sense, because you're still going to be opening nodes afterwards, and then you can still get efficiency from those nodes rather than to have to extract them and then recraft, right? So I like to get, so for boost modes, I usually like to get them to like level 22 or 23 or something, like maybe 21, 22, and then kind of just stop and then move on to work on the skill nodes. And then the skill nodes themselves, usually I get to like around 22 or something if they're super high priority. And otherwise, I just kind of bring them up evenly or get them to like where yours are, anywhere from like 16, 17, 18, 19 maybe, like around there is usually a time where I start moving on to the next one. Just because percentage-wise, it gets more expensive to level, and for those same amount of levels and the same amount of shards, you could get more progress in a lower level node, right? So to kind of get a little bit more efficiency out of them. So I think it'd be fine. How many experience nodes do you have? You say you have a lot. Is it like 5 or is it like 20 or
6, 12?
12? Okay, that is a decent amount, yeah. Yeah, I'd probably use like 1 or 2 on the Infinity Blade, see if you can get it into like the early 20s, and I'd probably slam quite some on the weapon aura. Maybe bring up the weapon aura and like the decent holy symbol a little bit equally, because it can help with the EXP and the drop rate, and you know those are both very important for your progress through the game.
A decent holy symbol.
So you're probably gonna both like level 9 or something. Well, maybe level 8 each or something. Because the EXP nodes give the same EXP as, oh god, I always forget. Is it 2 or 3? 3, right? It's 3 nodes, but it'll be double valuable on skill nodes, because skill nodes only need half the nodes as boost nodes do. So you basically get double the shard value.
Basically, I just put Infinity's sword, a blade, to 20, and then which is only required 1 node.
Okay,
and
nice.
Then evenly distributed, half and half, really. So it's 10 and 13.
Okay, that's nice.
But I will look out for those nodes while I'm farming.
So Decent Commodores is just passive. That'll just bring all your passives up, but like most of your 4th job is all passives. So it brings all of their base damage up when you activate it, right? So I'll press the where is it? Boom. When I press that on my Adele, so Grave Proclamation goes a little bit higher. Cleave goes higher, which is where a lot of your damage comes from, right? Ether Bloom is higher. Ether Guard is higher. Plummet goes up, and then all your passives. So you get a little bit more mastery and attack from the Expert. The Perfection that boosts all of your existing skill all goes up a little bit. Ruination gets a bit more final damage, a little bit more IED, and then Strive gets more attack, more boss, and one more crit rate. And that gives you like new percentages to work with.
I see on your Adele you have macros. Is that?
Yeah.
Are they I have buff macros or?
One is Weave Infusion, so the weapon booster, and the Maple Warrior. And the other is from Resonance Rush. I don't know. Do
you put macros on your pets or no? They just flat.
I don't know. Not on this character. Oh, I have one, but I think it died. Oh no, it's still alive. Yeah. I have one. That's decent combat orders and decent speed infusion, because those have like very long animations. So I put those on. We also have the combo key now. Have you seen that?
No.
So if you open up your key configuration, you see a big red key, combo key.
Yep.
So it's basically, other games have this as well, specifically MMOs with a lot of skills, but if you hold it down, it'll reactivate other keys, and you can like double assign them essentially. So you see, if you put the combo key somewhere, you can't put it on 1 through 0, right? Those keys are in red, and I guess not on right alt for some reason. Because if you open up the combo key on the bottom left side, you'll see that those keys can be reassigned now, or extra assigned. So if you have other skills that you want near the left hand that are maybe, you know, smushed a little bit in the right side or in the middle of your keyboard where you can't reach them that well, that might be a good idea to use the combo key instead. So if you set them up and you put skills in there, I'll just, you know, put some random stuff in there just so you can see. And then if you hold down the combo key, you'll see the keys appear on your screen, and then you can press them again. So some people, maybe when you're mobbing, some people might put a bunch of buffs there, which is pretty useful. So you don't have to go into your inventory and try to find all of them, because they might be all over the place. Or if you're setting up your burst and you know the order that you're pressing your skills, you can just do the combo key and you can just blindly activate it, right? You can just do 1, 2, 3, and you can just feel it out with your hand, and you can keep looking at the map and you can keep looking at the boss and make sure you don't get blindsided by attacks at the same time. So if you order them by longest duration to shortest duration on when you have to activate them, then that'll help you set up your burst as well cleaner rather than having them all over your keyboard.
Okay.
So that's an extra little thing. As you go, and I get more skills, and 6th job is coming, and new skills are coming, and even more keyboard space is necessary. And Adele has quite a lot of keys, right, that you want to press.
Yeah.
Mobility options as well, like plummet and feather float. Don't want to be too far away necessarily. Your true nobility sometimes for extra survivability for the shield. You want to have your hero's will. As you got to do harder and harder bosses, you want your hero's will and your Urda's will as well, which was one that we didn't mention yet, but those are ones that you want to start using as well in leveling up, just so that you can have them at your disposal for harder boss fights. Because specifically if you're going for Black Mage, they're extremely useful for Black Mage to not die.
Okay, knowledge. That's what it was.
Yeah, so basically for the Matrix, everything that's not, like if you get decent Hyperbody and decent Door, you can extract that. Everything else I would keep and just level up. And then all the boost nodes you don't need, right? Those you can extract. And then with those shards, I would work on that order and those skills that we talked about. And then probably pretty quickly after the ones you're working on now, you're going to start working on Grandest Goddess Blessing, because that'll give you a lot of damage for bursting. And you can also alternate it with mobbing, but it's not as important because it's just like a flat damage increase. So if you're already killing, without it, then with it, nothing really is going to happen. But it's mostly to increase your burst damage even more. It doesn't, and it's one that doesn't sync up well. It's a 4-minute cooldown, but again, it works with that charge system. So you can, you'll get used to how that works. Like my arc is a 2-minute and has this as well on a 4-minute. So because it's a charge system, you can make sure that your first 3 2-minute bursts can all use it, but then you can't anymore. And then once the Oz rings start coming in, those are 3-minute cooldown, and then you have to start kind of like that's like the next level of the bossing, right? Is that you start managing your cooldowns and intersection of cooldowns and what you want to have overlap and not in terms of efficiency. But that's going to be more important if you go into the hard bosses. If you're doing like hard Lucid, hard Will, and probably for hard Lotus and hard Damien as well. So that's like another step further.
Okay. I mean, I still have to do Oz. Have not done that ever.
That brings us into that. Like Oz is completely different now. Like all of the rings don't come from Oz anymore. The former Oz rings drop from boxes that drop from the current bosses now. So if you open up the boss menu through the guide, you can see there all the bosses and their drops, and you will now see if you look through the drops here, you'll see the boxes. So you see everything starting at 5. I don't know whether these bronze stars, I guess. That those have the green jade box as a drop there added now, except for Pepilatus because he gets left out. Feels bad. And then the ones above that as well have the green jade box up to normal Gloom, normal Dark Null, and then starting hard Damien, you have the red jade boss ring box. So that's that has better odds for the rare rings basically, and better odds for the tiers of the ring as well, all the way up to Chaos Slime, and then you have the black box all the way up to, I think, Black Mage? Yeah, Black Mage and Saren, and then they start with the white jade box, and that's on everything above that, essentially. So those are quite nice. From those red boxes, I've gotten the Roar 4, so I mean, it's only a 0.9% chance, but it is possible that you strike some gold once you get to those nicer boxes.
Okay, so they made it easier for people to obtain.
Yeah, so if you were if you were maxing out Oz, then your rates now are a little worse. But most people were nowhere near doing that. So for all of those people, basically 98% of the Maplers, it's way easier now and way more reliable that you're going to get some rings eventually. Yeah.
Okay, because I was dreading Oz because that too many bad things, but I'll definitely.
Yeah, it's just cosmetic now for Oz, like cosmetic stuff. So.
Okay, Definitely.
Yeah, and it does mean, so as a caveat for that, like if you, or not a caveat, but if you do get a decent ring earlier, that also means that you don't have to go as hard on boosting up 4 rings, right? Because the burst on the Oz rings is 3 minutes, and you're a 3-minute burst class, so you could do pretty well with even without ring swapping, with just holding onto like the strong ring and just focusing on your 3-minute burst. That one of your rings doesn't necessarily have to be upgraded that much, so you can spend that money on other projects instead.
Okay. Okay. So. Okay, that's good information. No luck on the Papalatus mark though, but one day.
Oh, you have a Papulatus mark?
No, I've done it numerous times.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that drop rate has not changed.
It's because I clicked on the Papulatus in the boss tab and I saw the Papulatus. It made me sad.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's a reasonable drop because it's right there, but well, I mean, I've gotten a bunch of them, but I've been running for a long time. Drop rate, very many characters, so eventually you do get a lot of them, yeah. But most of the time they come too late, or on the mules, right?
Wait.
They come on the side
definitely.
characters. Yeah.
What else should we title? I think maybe go to stats for the rings and.
Oh, since we mentioned the
Like,
Papulatus mark, they did change transposing. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No.
So
I haven't
basically,
heard of that.
they claimed that there was a problem with trying to reflame your item after you transposed, because you know how transposing works?
Yeah. Transposing is you take an item, like you want something with a good flame and advantage. So you want the Papulatus mark.
Mm-hmm.
You get that. You put a really, really good flame on it because it has flame advantage, I think. And then when you put it to Sweetwater, it doesn't have flame advantage. So that's why you want to transform only when you get the good flame.
Yep.
And the star, I think stars too. You have to have a.
Yep. Yeah, when it's at 16, so that you end up with the best possible product eventually past the transposing. Yeah. But so they basically brought some bullshit claim like, oh, there were problems with, you weren't able to reflame, or reflaming after transposing just made your flame worse. So in order to fix that, we made it so that the flame doesn't carry over anymore. So I was like, oh, after like that being the meta for like, a decade or something. So basically now if you
doesn't matter anymore.
No, so you don't. Well, it actually matters in the sense that you shouldn't flame, because it's just going to get completely stripped off when you do transpose. It just comes out as completely 0 flame, so you have to flame it after. So really, you're only just looking for 16 star and then trying to slam it over. And it's also made a lot of people reconsider whether they even want to transpose or not, because without those extra bonus stats, are you really gaining as much from the whole process, right? So many people are trying to skip it now. Mainly also because of the addition of extra items. Are you familiar with like the Twilight Mark and the Daybreak items and stuff?
No. I don't think those are out
So if you look at Lucid and Will, you'll see an extra Twilight Mark there. That's a face accessory. So KMS came out with a 3-set piece of items. So Versilla also has the Daybreak Pendant. And that one later also drops from Saren. And then the third item is the Guardian Slime Ring. That looks like a boss accessory set, but you can also change it with a scroll to be part of the Daybreak set. And the reason that it's meta, if you can see the set bonus, is that the 2-set bonus also gives 10% boss damage, which is one of the most powerful 2-set bonuses in the game, especially around that stage of the game. So it's level 140 item. The Twilight Mark has flame advantage, and is available from it starts being available from normal Lucid and Will, but it's a very low chance there, so you can't really expect it. And then from hard, it's a better chance, but you have more people in the party, so you're gonna have to be sharing it with people, and it's a share drop, so it's still going to be difficult to get a lot of them and backups and getting high star for. So I think there's still a spot in the meta for a Sweetwater Tattoo instead. Also, so transposing this one into Sweetwater Tattoo should be possible to make a better tattoo, but people don't do it because if you keep it as a Twilight Mark, then you get that 10% damage set bonus, typically with the Slime Ring, because that's a level 160 ring, so that's one of the ones that we want to get to high, meta stars now. But because we have superior Golix, we do have the ability to get a superior ring high star force and then transfer hammer it into the slime without risking blowing up the Slime Ring. So that's something that people have been doing up until now, especially once they were kind of done with superior rings and they didn't really need the Gollux coins anymore.
Okay. And then, if I remember correctly, if you break something, you need the
Hmm.
same thing, right? So you would only want to transfer, like, say, a Sweetwater after you get to the correct star because you would have to get another Sweetwater, right?
So if
Or is it
you talk about transferring or you're talking about transposing now?
not transfer? Like, say, when you Star Force and then
Mm-hmm.
you destroy it. Let's say you
Mm-hmm.
break it, you fail the
Yeah, you get a
chance.
trace.
Do you
Mm-hmm.
do you need another Sweetwater, right?
Yeah,
Or do you need
same. It needs to
another
be the same
capitalized
name
one?
item, like the exact
Okay.
same name item, with any stats on it. If it already has better stats on it, they'll just get overwritten if you transfer the trace to it. So typically, people want to use a clean one, and then it'll start
Okay.
back up at 12 stars. Booming is now only past 15 stars. There's no more booming under 15. And there's also no more failing. There's still failing, but there's no more dropping under 15 either. But they adjusted the cost in between 10 and 15 to kind of account. It's still cheaper now, but only by a little bit compared
Jeez,
to
easy
if you
mode.
were, yeah, if you were safeguarding. So it can still fail a bunch, but it'll never go back down. So the time spent between 10 and 15, you're going to spend about the same amount of money, a little bit less, I think. Well, a little bit less if you were safeguarding, a little bit more if you weren't going to safeguard. But it's going to take away less time. So that's the main change.
Okay. Um.
So that also means that the value has changed a little bit in terms of like 30% off and 5, 10, 15 events and everything, right? But there are calculators for that, so you can always just throw the numbers in the calculator to see like what is cheaper, what is more expensive. And the one extra thing with Star Forcing I also want to mention is that some guilds. Have you looked into the guild castle at all?
No, is that
Have you seen
new?
that? Yeah. So this is content from China and Taiwan that came in. Most of this is just like kind of like fluff. There's a weekly you can do where you kind of go into the dungeon and kill 5,000 monsters, and then you can get your weekly rewards on every Monday if you completed it on the previous week. That helps with the overall rank of the crystal, and that speeds up the research of your castle. So it'll depend on the guild you're in whether people are doing something with that or not. You just might just want to ask like, hey, is this like necessary or do we care about this a lot? It's a very slow process, so most guilds are like not super worrying about it. But there's some cool stuff in here. There's a few cool rooms that you can like unlock, and one is really good for star forcing. So this is called the enhancement room, or it's called the enhancement altar, I should say. And when it gives you the message here, but when you're in this map, it'll always automatically apply star catching. So even if you have star catching like unticked when you're star
Disable?
forcing, yeah,
Yeah.
well, so you don't want to disable it because then it doesn't work. But if you have it
Oh.
enabled and I click enhance, it'll just do the star as if I actively did star catch and I succeeded at it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. So on average, you'll
Um.
save more money here. You can also talk to this anvil here and put in the item, and then it'll show up in the map if you want to like show it off to your guildies and you don't want to have to stream it through Discord and everything. And then they can see the successes and they can see the failures. And they can see it go from 19 to 12 suddenly, or see like a boom
Okay.
animation. So that could be like a nice guild thing that people are doing. There's some other maps here. There's like a library where you can get traits as well. And then once you get further, there's also this supply room where you can buy items. Oh yeah, the first time on every character you get a little cutscene. I forgot about that. This might take a minute, but there's a few items you can buy here. Some are just there's like temporary gear you can buy from mules. That's pretty cheap. That's almost like the frozen gear, so that's pretty nice. And then there are some other items you can buy, like now it's gonna make me to memory. But if you unlock more in the Guild Castle, you can also sometimes sell nodes here. I think it's only one node a day, but that's another 30 a month. Basically, they're like 5 mil or something, so that's pretty cheap. And later there's also totems that you can unlock that you can buy. Those are pretty expensive, but they're permanent. And I think they're like 500 mil each. So once you start making a lot of money, oh yeah, this is the outfit, right? It's got like a nice set bonus, and it's got okay base stats, but it's only like 120 mil for the set. So if your character doesn't have any clothes, you can just easily buy this and get something going. And this character sells some weird buffs. Oh, she also sells a flame, but it's more than the one in the regular store. So That's not really that useful, and you can only buy one per day. But the nodes will appear here as well, and then the totems will appear here as well. So
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
stuff that you
I'm
can use
going through
here.
the stupid cutscene now.
Yeah. So it'll depend on your guild and how much they do with it and whether they want to or not. But if you build out your personal research, there's like some rooms that you can build out where you can train for those 5,000 monsters, but you're limited to how many monsters you can kill per week for EXP, so that's not very good. But if you do research in terms of the rewards, then every time you do complete your weekly, you can get more rewards in the weekly. You can get more nodes, more symbol selectors, symbol selector coupons, more flames, and stuff like that. And if you are building something with your guild and you start the quest here, then as soon as you have this one, this book here, then you can start gathering these resources, and when you're training, you'll see these resources drop. The top 3 are, if your guild is even a little bit active, it'll fill up super fast, so it's not really that useful. But the Breath of the Artisan is extremely rare, and basically only drops from like hard, lucid, and up bosses, essentially. So you'll have to have the entire guild looking for this if you want to build like the special ornaments and you want to unlock the special rooms and stuff. So just talk to your guild and kind of see like what they're even doing with it, whether they care or not.
Okay.
Because otherwise, yeah. So it's pretty minimal, but like it's mostly that enhancement room that's like super useful. So just check if that's available. If it is, then do your star forcing all in there, and then you can save yourself some money.
Okay. I think should we go into maybe the potentials, flames?
Yeah, sure. You still remember flames and all that and how that all works?
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
refreshed on that through your video just now.
Flames. Yeah, okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, nothing really changed with flames. We have newer tier equips. We have eternal equips now, so level 250 items. So they are going to be getting different numbers on their flames. So sometimes you might see an eternal item in in items mega, right? And then those numbers might seem crazy. They probably are, but you have to put them in context of it's a higher level item, so in the same tier they're going to get bigger numbers, right? So your goal for now is 27 in your bossing stuff. Okay. Yeah, you haven't tried slime yet? Yeah, you can definitely try slime. It should be able to do that in a decent amount of time. And you worked on your inner-ability yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday I worked on it because that had a 10% crit rate, but I was at 112% crit
Okay.
rate. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't need that, so I just re-rolled it and I got 28 straight. And I could go for something new, but right now I think that's just okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, if you have a lot of extra crit rate, and you have points in the, and you don't have points in hyperstats, and you always have some very cheap way of making up for that crit rate, so it's not super valuable. If you have crit rate, but you also have like link skills in crit rate, and you could drop those for damage, then that might be a bigger switch to more damage than changing the inner-ability line for damage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know exactly which link skills you're using. But once you have access to all of them, it's like a big puzzle, right? It gets more complicated. But yeah, as soon as you're over 100, you want to see like, okay, where can I move some stuff around? Sometimes going 10 higher even on the inner ability will make sure that you can go to even more damage on a link skill or something. So don't always see it as like, oh, I can go down. But sometimes that means you can go even a little bit higher on one source so that another source can go down, right?
Yeah, so on my link skill, it shows 96, but I have 100. I just don't know why. At that time when I took the video, it just didn't show 100. But I have barely any on my link skill, like my Legion, and I have like one there just to push it up to 100.
Yeah.
On my hyper stats. So I'm pretty much like, I kind of got the math out, but then I could maybe take out the link skill for crit from Phantom and maybe put something more.
Yeah, exactly.
Increase my damage more, and then I can min-max that way. I understand that much. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's say that you keep the 10 crit in inner ability, and then instead, with your next hyperstat points, you can very cheaply get the hyperstats up a little bit higher. Maybe get yourself to 120, and then you can cut the 20 from the, or I don't know if it's a 15 Phantom right now. I think it's 15 probably, right?
Yeah, it's 15.
Yep. So then you can cut the 15, and then if that gets replaced by like a 10% damage, essentially what you did there is you changed your inner ability stat and a little bit of hyper stat points with a 10% damage line, but without the RNG of having to hit it and spend your honor EXP for it. So that's like another way of looking at like where can the damage come from. And it's not necessarily because you're over 100 now you cut everything you have. Sometimes you actually want to go higher so you can cut a bigger chunk instead. But that like knowledge and that understanding comes with just having more pieces available to you and seeing like what are my options actually, right? Because when you don't have that many options in the beginning, yeah, there's only really one choice. But as soon as you get more moving parts, it becomes like, ooh, there's different options. And sometimes you just want to write out the options. Like, what is the cost of number one? And the result, no, number one, the cost is extra honor EXP that takes a while to recover. And it gains me this much damage. It gains me 29 strength. What is option number two? Some hyperstep points that I can't put in anything else, so that's only temporary. I don't cost any honor EXP. That's nice. And I get to use another link skill, and the gain is actually 10% damage. And then if you put those next to each other, then it'll be more clear like which option would make more sense.
Okay.
Even though they're both damage increase, yeah, they cost different things. Yeah. It's just because honor EXP is it's a pretty rare resource, right? I mean, it's all over the place, but you don't get that much of it. That's kind of the problem. And if you want to eventually, like this is good interoperability for now, but eventually you want to move into like a more bossing interoperability. It'll probably be after 260 or even further than that. But your next aim is probably to go for like, I don't know, probably like 2 million honor or something before you move away from this at all.
Okay, so
yeah.
So the Meso and the item drop aren't like as
that's fine for now. Yeah, especially because your income, like most of your income is going to come from this character. You're going to be grinding a lot for the 6 job items and everything, right? So you want the Meso and the item drop so you can keep making money while you're grinding that out. And while your account is still getting established in terms of bossing mules. So those are going to be fine. And also you're not a character that hardcore relies on an interoperability to be able to function. Like you don't need attack speed +1 to not suck, you know, and you don't need like 50% buff duration or 38 on unique line to be able to not suck as well. So you do have the ability to go for this for a while and not suffer in progress with the Adele, because the Adele is already such a well-rounded character. But there are some lines that are very useful for you. Again, like critical rate might be nice, but a lot of people look at critical rate and like, oh, I already have 100%. I don't need that critical rate line. But when you're trying to min-max, it's more like, what can that critical rate line give you in return for damage versus what other line? So if the option is between, so typically for Adeles, they like cooldown skip and they like damage, right? So damage can come from boss damage, from damage to debuff monsters, or from critical rate. And from critical rate, the damage is indirect because it allows for other things to be rerolled that are now in critical rate and then go into damage instead. And that might give you the same damage or more than a damage line in the interoperability itself could give you. And that's why those lines can be valuable.
Okay.
But yeah, at this point, you basically just relegate it to sitting on your interoperability for a long ass time, probably like 1.5 to 2 million honor before you start considering switching out of it. So you have until then to slowly build up your income in your account more in bossing mules, or just hardcore grind on this character and make money just by putting in hours to try to build out your 6 job and making money while training essentially.
Okay,
which gets us to the next point, and that's like, what gear are you going to be wearing when you're mobbing, right? Like the drop gear and the meso gear and everything. That brings us back to the potentials. So did you, because we did have a cube sale, did you see them in the cash shop during the cube sale?
I cubed up. What's it called? What did I cube? I cubed a lot of my rings to legendary because they were sitting at unique. Cubed the rings to legendary. If I got 2 line prime, like 2, not 2 prime, but like 2 strengths, I would keep that. And then I did calculations to get 100% meso. And I had a lot of drop rate already. So I think the only I put on drop rate was the pendant from Monster Park. I think I put drop rate on that. I don't know if at the time I didn't know if the 20% drop rate plus the potential drop rate combined. So I just did it anyways.
Well, nobody actually really truly knows. It says drop rate only on equips, so we assume that goes over what we already have and that works, but it's really hard to actually tell, because when you're running around at 400% drop rate, 400 bonus drop rate, right? So at 500 total % drop rate, whether 500 or 520% is being applied specifically to equips, that's really difficult to tell. So because we don't have those official numbers and like data from Korea, we just wear it and hope that it does work. But I don't think we can ever really know unless someone is like an insider and goes deep into the code and finds that for us. But yeah, that's what we do. So when it comes to like your set, do you have some kind of combination of items that you can wear? Like what's the most amount of Meso obtain and drop rate that you can have at the same time?
Let me get some calculation.
So you're 5 Meso basically, right? And then how many equips can you, of the 4 slots that are left, how many of those do you have that have drop rate on them?
I think I'm 4 Meso, which is
4 Meso, okay.
80, and then 20 from my inner, so I'm 100. I don't know if.
Yeah, but that goes over, so you can get 5 from your equips.
That, so.
Yeah, so your equips can go up to 100% in Meso obtain, and they can go up to 200% in drop rate. And then invulnerability is a separate thing that stacks on top of that.
So I guess I would have 100% Meso drop rate. And
yeah, for that Meso drop rate is a different stat. Meso drop rate is like the chance for a bag to drop. And then Meso obtain is when the Meso does drop, how much is in the bag, basically. So you want to make sure that you keep those stats separate.
So it's basically 100, 100.
100, okay, so
100% drop rate, yeah.
So do you have one item that has 2 lines on it? That has like Meso and drop? Or double Meso or double drop?
The greed pendant is 20% drop rate, equipment drop rate. Oh no!
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah. We typically don't count that one because it's only equips. So you have, so you do have a set with 5 lines of Meso and 4 lines of drop, and then one of those is a greed pendant that has the extra. Okay, that's a good set. That's a good set to have. So typically that's a really good start, and then you want to make sure that when you're wearing that, you're strong enough to keep killing the monsters by making sure that all the other stuff, the equips that you wear both when you're mobbing and bossing, right? So just the armors, that those are good enough. So make sure that the Absolab, that the CRA, the weapon, that those can carry the weight of your accessories not having any stat on them. And typically not being like, 19 star or 21 star around that level. Most likely event rings, most likely boss accessory stuff, right?
Okay, so should I get like extras to say I'm working a Spirit Golix ring, like an extra Spirit Golix ring, so it can be like a normal, like strong stat for bossing. And I have the one I have right now that I have a picture of. It's a Meso drop one. That's how I should be doing things.
I see your earring, right? Is that what one you're talking about?
Yeah, the earring.
Yeah.
Is it not here?
Yeah, so ideally what you want is whatever earring you had before this. So typically for people, that's either Diacitus earring or Will-o'-the-Wisps. Because that's like the one from Hardhilla or the one from Chaos Horntail, right? Ideally you make one of those into drop or Meso. And then once you do that, then you can re-roll your superior purely for damage. So you can go for 21% or higher on there.
Okay, so go rank down, then put those as... Picture this, a cosmic giant. My wife, my child just turned 19.
Yeah, I just heard something. Children, man, what are you gonna do about it? Trying to watch some Discovery Channel, bro.
That's so weird. No, she's mad.
Watching the news.
Alright, so like the pink belt, like the golden clover, I should be getting that as drop rate, or
no, that cannot get drop rate. So there's only 9 equips, right, that can get the line. So it's your 4 rings, your 2 pendants, your eye in your face, and your earring. Those are the 9 pieces that form your drop and Meso gear.
Eye, face, earring. Okay.
So first set is like a set of 5 Meso, 4 drop. You have that. That's good. Then you want to make, and then the second step is to make damage gear. If you have full superior Golix, do you have full superior Golix?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you want to make sure that you go to the second step, which is making a full set of damage gear, which typically is very easy, but sometimes some of the drop rate pieces are already the pieces that you want as damage gear. So now you have to go for another piece that becomes dedicated dropper meso gear to take up its place, so that you can dedicate the superior Golic stuff to damage gear, because you want that stat bonus, that 30% damage, 30% boss, 30% IED. When that's activated, you also want the piece to bring as much damage as it can. So probably go back to Diacidus or Will-O-the-Wisp if you have one of those, because they have flame advantage, because they give you stat bonus, so they give extra stats like that, and they can go over 15 stars as well if you need more damage from your drop in meso gear. Try to get a meso line there, and then once you have that, you can redo the superior Golics, and you won't lose any value from your utility set from your drop in meso set.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then the next step after that is typically, once you go into even stronger damage gear, sometimes pieces that you already have upgraded to some extent are no longer useful. So this will happen on probably mainly with the eye and the face accessory, right? Because when you're talking about switching from the boss accessory pieces, and then I talked about the Daybreak pieces a little bit, if that takes a while, or you make multiple Daybreak pieces, or you start to go into Sweetwater because it takes too long, and the Sweetwater is a guaranteed way of getting stuff, and the Twilight Marks and all the other items maybe just take too long, then once you start switching pieces over there, because you can either get more Star Force on one, or you can get a better set bonus on one, and then you're left with a stronger piece that has no function anymore, then you can start going for extra drop rate. So that you go for a drop rate that for a set that has like 9 total drop rate, or eventually to 10, which is the max, but you'll need something to have double lines for that. So you might have to luck into that, or specifically chasing that is pretty expensive at that point. Because that set will be more useful, full drop rate will be more useful for bossing, right? Because we talked about the drops earlier. All of those drops that you see, almost all of those drops that you see here are affected by the drop rate. So the more drop rate you get, the faster you can get backups, and the faster you can realistically take all the money that you got from the grinding and from the bossing mules and actually make realistic upgrades, because all of your upgrades on that point is going to be star forcing past 17, right? You already made your CRA, you know what it's like to boom stuff. But if you don't have anything to boom, then you have incredibly high risk, right? So to lower that risk, you want more backups. To get more backups, you have to boss for a long time with drop rate. To get drop rate, you need pieces to get drop rate on. So it all kind of like folds in together.
Okay. So a quick overview. I'm getting the I would say lower gear to put as drop rate, and have a drop rate and a bossing piece. So say I have superior Golix ring. Let's say earrings. I get the chaos Horntail, whatever his name is. Little dragon. I get his earrings, put it as drop rate, and put my superior Golix back to like say bossing gear, strong 2-line string.
Yep.
And then just switch in between those, and then work on a superior Golix one.
You mean superior Golix?
Yeah,
work on superior Golix 1? What do you mean with that?
Like have 2 superior Golix, so when I get the higher levels, I can have 2 strong accessories rather than or it doesn't really matter at that point, because the damage isn't.
Yeah, damage is important. You're going to be... So all of the bosses, pretty much all the important ones, at the end of the boss fight, they have a box that you need to kill, right? You probably noticed that with some of the bosses. So what people do is like you get the strong damage gear out to kill the boss quickly, and then when you're in the box stage, then you switch to all of the drop rate that you have. and then you open up the box with the drop rate.
Okay, so I think my mindset was like, oh, I'm grinding. Like, oh, I need more... And I'm gonna need, if I'm going grinding higher levels, I'm gonna need more damage. So if I have that,
yeah, and that damage is gonna come. So that's why I talked before. Like your accuracy, sorry, your accessories. You really want to see them as just their utility. What they bring to the table is giving you drop rate and meso obtain. And for damage, you want to look at everything else. So the damage is going to come from leveling up your matrix, right? Using your skills properly, rotating a map properly, getting good weapons, secondary, and emblem. That's where a lot of your damage is going to come from. And then looking at your CRA pieces, looking at your Abso pieces, and looking at your setups for your hyperstats for your link skills and for your legion to have 2 separate setups, one for mobbing, one for bossing. And if you're optimizing in all of these individual things, what you're constantly doing is try to make it so that you're compensating for no stat on your accessories, essentially. Once you get into super late game, you can start looking at your previous damage pieces that I talked about, like that get turned into like extra drop rate gear, right? This will be like discarded 19 star, 20 star, sometimes even 21 or 22 star items that eventually you replace because maybe you get pitch items, right? Like if you're going up to Black Mage, maybe you get like a Berserk from Hard Lotus or something like that, or you get a Magic Eye Patch from Damien and they actually go to high star force. Now you have probably you have like a 21 star Twilight Mark, or a 21 star monocle or something like that, or a 20 star black bean mark, and now that has no function anymore. But now you can just redo the potential, get it to drop or meso, and now it can be really strong drop or meso piece, and it can basically take over from an aquatic letter I accessory with drop rate, right? Or a condensed power crystal, and that brings up your damage as well. And then depending on your budget, some people will go for like double lines, maybe like 2 lines of drop rate or 2 lines of meso, and then you'll go for a set that can have 100% meso obtain and 200% drop rate at the same time, but you'll need 15 lines over 9 pieces, right? So you need 6 items at least with double. So what I did, like the last cube sale, on my 2 highest level characters, I made 2 sets that have high level pieces that have 100% meso and 200% drop, but on 8 pieces, so I can still wear the Spirit Pendant for more EXP at the same time. So I took 1 pendant out and only did 8 pieces. But these are like very expensive projects, as you can imagine, right? So you slowly build your account up to that point if it makes sense for you for the future. And so there's like different steps, and you can go super far, right? Someone who's know they're going to go endgame is going to start immediately chasing like drop and meso. But for you, it's more like a line of drop or a line of meso with a line of stat if you can, because if all the items have 1 line of stat, 9 equips, 9%, that's 81% extra stat, right? So that does help buffer a little bit. So it's more realistic for if you have 1 line of drop or meso that you also look for a line of stat. But if you're looking for 2 lines, then a 3rd line can be whatever the hell it wants, because it's already so expensive to get like 2 meso or 2 drop or a combination of on 1 equip.
Okay, all right, I understand. What I was having trouble with is like I forgot the boxes, so it doesn't really matter if the gear doesn't. Have, the drop gear doesn't really have.
Yeah, I was confused when you asked, but it's good to it's good to talk through it. But because you can really just dedicate, and in the past, what people would do is they would go damage gear, and then at the end of the boss fight, they would be like jumping around and then trying to switch gear while trying to stay out of combat and go into drop rate gear to kill the boss in the final seconds with then drop gear again. It was just a nightmare. So they added like the boss reward rooms to most things, and what they recently did is they added a lot of HP to the box to make sure that you can't accidentally destroy it if you have like residue damage, except for Golix. So if you have like, for example, Storm still on, and it's like the sword spinning around you, right? They can activate the box if you get spawned pretty close to them. So for a Helix, for example, you will, if you have that still on, you will automatically open the box. So if you're strong, you could just run Helix and drop rate gear, but otherwise make sure that those skills aren't on so that you have time in the Helix post map to open up the box with switch first to drop rate gear and then open up the box.
Okay, all right. I definitely understand it now.
Yeah.
I'll work towards that. I was looking to buy cubes anyways, so I'll look into making that gear.
Yeah. Yeah, we can look at the current gear and see like which short-term gains you can make here. So you have no cubes left over from the cube sale, or did you?
Yeah,
you just slammed it.
26 of the normal glowing cube.
Glowing, okay.
That's
depending on where you are at the game, that's really nice, or that's nothing, right? Depending on what kind of project you're looking at. If the project is like 50 cubes, that's pretty good. If the project is like a few thousand, which can happen. So like for contrast, I was looking at trying to get 3-line attack on my secondary on my Demon Avenger. That's an average of 7,000 cube. So that's
I was seeing people on Twitch doing like $1 trillion openings with like 2K cubes, and they'll get like a line of, they'll get like 2 prime lines, but like it's not 3, and they'll just re-roll it. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, because their base is already 33%, so it's 36 or nothing. That's what they're chasing. And if you look at the expected cost, it's insane. I I could be doing that on like my main character, but I like to spread all of the wealth and all of the resources more over multiple characters and be able to play more characters instead. But that's when you get to that point, that's something you have to specifically make a decision for yourself, whether you want to go more in depth with one character and do like the highest level bosses and at the highest difficulty, right? Or if you want to go more in width and just be able to play the game from different perspectives from different classes. But yeah, past a certain point, it becomes really hard to play it in width because are you going to build out 6 jobs for like 4 characters, for 5 characters, you know, and you have to grind hours and hours for every one. You know, it's not like nodes where you can just grind nodes on one character and then just trade them over. These are all untradeable resources for 6 job now. So yeah, those are decisions you have to make for your future. Not yet, but like once you get into like well into the 260s or into the 270s, you'll have to start thinking about that a bit more. So the first thing I see is that your flame on your weapon could definitely be quite a bit better. And
Yeah,
since
because
it is, yeah,
with the hyper burning event, you get a lot of flames. I've been saving
exactly.
them
Okay.
for this moment to see which ones I should prioritize.
Yeah, that's good. There's also some black flames coming. You've seen the login rewards, right?
Yeah, the daily logins or the
Yeah, the
event
regular
ones.
exploration, basic exploration, I think is what it's called, right?
Yeah, the event one.
Yeah, those. So there's some stacks of red cubes. At this point, red cubes are still good value to probably make an upgrade. And then once you get something that's pretty good, your weapon is also going to be the prime item. That or arcane items is going to be the prime item to try black flames on to see if you can hit something a bit better. Because the black flames are basically the rainbow flames, but with the eternal flames with the chance of keeping your current roll or picking the new one, right?
Okay.
And we get, yeah, if you look further down in the event, we get like stacks of 100 twice, I think, and then another stack of 30 of them. So there's a really good chance there to roll something better. But I would definitely aim for that tier 6 of attack. And then if you get anything on top of that, that's cool. But I would look for a tier 6 of attack, which should be, I think, 70 something. You can check what is it, 205 base on a 160. Oh, 82, yeah. Compared to now 31, so that's an extra 51 weapon attack, right? And that gets multiplied with all of your percentage attack, so that'll scale quite nicely for you.
Okay. So I will hit those today.
Yeah, so you've
like,
still got
the attack is where I want to get.
Yeah.
I'll look at the calculator mostly. I'm just gonna.
Yeah,
not even gonna try to
82,
explain
63
it.
is a
I'll
tier
go through
5. So if the tier 5 has a whole bunch of bonuses, then maybe you keep that. If it's got like, 12% boss damage and 5% damage or something, then maybe that's pretty close as well. But if not, then you're looking for that 82 weapon attack. Okay. So you've got these available, right? You got the 75 Karma Flames. Oh, and the 100 Eternals probably as well.
Yeah, I have a.
Yeah, you should be able to hit that at least once in the 75 Powerfuls if you haven't picked those up yet. So yeah, that's one thing.
I started the event 1 week late. So
oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you'll need some time to catch up. That's fine.
Unless I do pay to win, and then
yeah. You could
MapleStory's hand.
Throw some maple points in there.
Yeah.
Careful with that slippery slide down the. Yeah. Know yourself in that. Know thyself, I say.
I have to go. I'll be back. I just gotta bring my daughter to the bathroom.
Okay. New Age is coming next month in Japan? In JMS? Yeah, these flames are okay, honestly. They're not too bad.
Okay, back.
Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, I'm just looking over the flames and everything. So the CRA is more permanent, but it's already 21, so that's good. The Absolab is at 17. That's fine to keep it there because you want to start working towards Arcane gear, right? I don't know. You said 2 years, but there's been a lot of iterations of making Arcane gear more achievable. You're familiar with the box system now with Arcanes?
Recent change, or was it?
Well, you basically get armor boxes or weapon boxes that can drop from the boss instead of the items themselves, and then you can pick from the box which one you want.
So it's not you collect the things and then.
You still do that. So you can do
Okay.
if you don't get lucky with boxes, then you still make them the old-fashioned way. But if you get a box, then basically now the resources you mostly keep as backups in case you Star Force past 17 and things blow up later. And in the shorter term, you look more for the box drops. So if you look at the bosses in the UI, you can see that starting at hard Lucid, you've got these. Well, I guess starting at Lotus and Damien, right? At the hard, you've got the Absolab boxes, but you already have full Absolab, and you're probably not going to go past 17. So those are already pretty much useless. But for the hard Damien and hard Lotus, you're more looking at the Berserk and the eye patch, and then looking at the ring boxes. That's like where all of the value comes in. But for hard Lucid, you've also got the pitch boss as well, the belt, but you know that's also very far away from you. But it's mostly the ring boxes and then the arcane boxes. So you can pick any of the armors from any of the because it's the same box. So you could get a shoulder from the armor box from Lucid now without having to kill a lot of will and then get it from the box there with the special droplets.
So hard, like hard Lucid is like kind of something I should be striving for to obtain those. Because
Yeah.
other than normal Lucid, I haven't attempted anything harder.
Yeah, so it's good to start normal Lucid because you start getting the butterfly droplet stones. And so the general, very common question is like, do I buy the weapon when I can't afford it? Or do I go for 2 armors? Or do I wait for boxes? Like, what do I do there? My general advice is that if you are kind of stuck, if you can like if you could do normal Lucid, very easily with a party, maybe even solo. But for hard Lucid, you don't have like a set party. You're kind of like low in the drop list. You might not get any drops. You can barely make it, maybe not even every week, because maybe you're not meeting the damage requirements. Which pin in that damage requirements. Remind me of that in a little bit. Then it might be a good idea to go for the weapon first, because that will give you so much extra damage compared to an Absolab weapon that will help you reach the damage threshold, and that will help you be in the parties more so you can run hard more reliably. If you then get a weapon box, so be it. You can just use that as a backup later if you start forcing past 17. But you just want to get as many chances of those armor boxes as soon as possible. And the hard runs will also give you more butterfly droplet stones so you can make your backups and complete your set faster.
Okay.
So damage requirement, I mentioned that because what they changed is basically carries as we know them back in the day. You probably remember, right? Everyone was constantly asking for carries everywhere. And if you came back, you probably noticed that's not that much the case anymore. Is because there's no damage requirements to getting drops in a party. So if you have the party UI open and you have the display HP on when you're bossing, there's going to be a colored dot in between your name and the HP bar. And that colored dot is going to stand for how much of the total damage of the party you have done personally. So if you're a green dot, that means you've done over 10%. If it's a blue dot, you're between 5 and 10%, and you're okay, but you're kind of in a danger zone. If it's a red dot, you're done under 5%. And if you stay under 5% at the moment that the boss is dead, and that when the box is opened, the only thing you will get is it'll count as a clear for you. So it'll count for like achievements and that kind of stuff. And event items can drop. Quest items can drop, but that's very rare. But you won't get any other drops, so there'll just be nothing. And
So
basically your run will be wasted.
A thing of the past, really,
Mm-hmm.
unless you have the capability of surviving long enough to do 5%.
Well, yeah, so surviving is one thing, but also just committing the damage. So if you're in a party with people who are much stronger than you and they're essentially carrying the party, if they do super fast damage super quickly, you might not have enough time to get your damage in if there's too big of a discrepancy in your power levels, basically.
Okay.
So you're actively discouraged from getting carried, and you're more actively encouraged to find people around your power level and do stuff together. And as a support, you're kind of fucked, because the better you support, the more you increase your party's damage, the harder you make it for yourself to reach your 5%. And it's just a blanket 5%. Any party size, any boss, it's always 5%. So I'd be down if it's like a duo and you don't do 5%, you shouldn't get any drops, right? As a support even. But if you do a 6-man boss and you're completely building support and you're doing everything to keep your team alive, and it's a 6-man, like a burster or like a very strong DPSer will easily do like 15%. But if you have 5 people doing 15%, it's 70. Or do like, well, if they do 15%, that's 75. That leaves 25 for you. But if they do 20%, well, now that leaves 0% for you, right? So it's a very delicate balance getting that 5% damage in.
Okay.
So that's
so sorry, my wife was.
Yeah, here's that.
So we're reflaming the Abso weapon
Yep.
with the normal red flames, the
Yep.
powerful karma one. Well, just karma power. And then
Yeah, powerful flames. Yeah, they work the same, right? The karma is for untradeable items,
Yeah.
so for reboot it's the same. Yeah.
And then for let's see, sorry, when I get those black ones, I should be prioritizing increasing tiers on everything or just a single thing, and then move on.
So the
Is it
black
like a
flames
step ladder? Like you want weapon first, then this, then that, then this.
Yeah,
Like
you always want to use them. Like, where is a flame going to have the most value? It's going to have the most value on where per flame you have on average a higher chance of increasing the value of the flame. So that's most likely on the weapon first, just because the weapon's flame can contribute so much more to the overall than the other ones that it makes more sense. In the same way that when it comes to the potential, you work on the WSE first, even though it can be more expensive, because attack percent and boss damage percent lines just give you so much more damage than the stat percent lines could give on other ones, right? And once that one's taken care of, similar to potential, you work on accessories first because they have fewer junk lines. So then the average cost of getting a certain percentage on a Superior Golic's earring, for example, to get 21 there is cheaper than to get 21 on like CRA piece. So typically you want to you work on the earring first and then on the pants. So same thing with the flame is for the flames, it's more like the weapon first, and then it's all about the flame advantage items over the items without flame advantage. And then within the flame advantage and within the items without flame advantage, it's always the higher level items first, because a tier 5, is the same chance to hit on regardless of the level of the item. But if a tier 5 hits on a level 160, it's a bigger number than if it hits on a 140. So you might hold on. If you get a good flame on this weapon, you might also just hold on to Eternal Flames, and you might hold on to Black Flames until you maybe go into Arcane, because they're higher level items, and then you can hit bigger flames there. And you want to hit higher as well, because you're going to equip those items for way longer than the Abso, right? Abso is more transient, and the Arcane is going to be with you for longer. So then you want to, if you then hit higher there, that's going to give you more value in the long term.
Okay. Because as I was listening, but I kind of just flamed it. Got the 82, which is tier, I think it was tier 6.
Tier 6, yeah.
4% all stat. So I
okay,
mean,
nice.
For me, that's doable.
Yeah, that's already a huge upgrade compared to what you have now, yeah. Because you had 5 all stat, so you basically just gain 50 weapon attack just like that.
Yeah, so I will move on to there, and then I'll look which ones has more, like I would say, more potential to get a better stat over the other ones. So if one is at tier 2, at tier 3, and the other one's at tier 5, go with the tier 2, 3 first, then go to the tier 5.
Well, you want to look at the total flame score, right? So look within the level, within the level, and then within the flame score, essentially.
Okay.
Yep. So the other thing that will give you a lot of damage. What is your Oh no, wait, that's here. Yeah, your secondary like that. Yeah, that's fine. And the emblem, that will carry enough for now. Your potentials are all like at least 17. It's got crit damage here. That's good. That's 20. 24 and a heart. That's good. That's 20. Yeah, I guess the next one would probably be like the flame on your shoe or something, because the other ones are really good actually. Like the glove is good. That's already higher than what I would aim for, honestly. The cape is great. The cape is basically like a flame that you'd be looking at for on Arcane early on. This would be like a decent Arcane flame, honestly, to start with. Okay. If you can get that high. Yeah, it's not like the shoe is bad. I wouldn't say it's bad, but like comparatively, it can gain the most likely right now. But remember that your CRA is probably pretty close, and your CRA is just going to stick with you longer. So you could also just go for the CRA at this point, unless you have some drop or meso pieces that have flame advantage that have really bad flames on them, that only have like 30 flame or something, and you could reflame those as well. Get them all up to like around 45 to 50 or a little bit above, like 50-ish. Because then, again, remember, you have 9 equips, and if most of those have flame advantage and they all gain like 20 flame score, then across the board, that's like 140 flame score, right? And that'll all take a lot of pressure off of the other pieces as well. So consider those, just to make those small gains with those flames. Otherwise, I guess your hat could be a little bit better if you have some flames left over. So that's all fine. The next big... when it comes to upgrading, the next big thing is probably getting extra black bean marks, right? You want backups for this, so you can see if you can get that up. As long as you don't have a pep mark, right now getting your black bean mark up to 20 stars is probably a good move. And we have the Shining Star Force event on December 3rd coming up.
And the Shining Star Force is it 5, 10, 15, or is it just a flat enhancement rate? Or like
it's 5 to 15, 100%, and 30% off at the same time.
Okay.
So that's like where you basically, if you look at calculators, you spend about half or a little bit less than half of your money compared to off event. It's a huge, huge moment to spend money if you're looking for Star Force gains. So for you, that basically be the one thing that would be limiting you though is like which backups you have and how many you have of them, right? So if you have these equips, the next projects I would look for is like for damage wise to try to get to a Twilight mark and try to get Star Force on that, or if you can afford a tattoo from Sweetwater, to switch to that, because you can get into higher Star Force and you can get then also warrant going into higher tier potential and working on bigger potential there, and then the condensed power crystal can either become a drop or meso piece, or if you already have that, it can if you already have a meso piece, it can become the drop piece, right? So that you can switch for the more drop rate for the boss boxes, for example, so that you still get some money back from investing into it and it being unique already, essentially. Okay. Yeah, and the next big jump is probably for your rings to go from where they currently are to fully damaged rings. So you're going to look for kind of treasure rings if you can get backups for those. So Princess No is a very important boss, right?
Yeah, so I have a 21 star Kana ring.
Oh, okay, that's nice. Yeah.
That's my damage one, which strengthened.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that ring, but all the other rings I have no backups. And
so you have like
Superior Gold String, I don't even have Meso drop on it. I just have the 2-line string.
Yeah, that's fine.
The
that's
Blossom
fine.
And the event ring is the 2 rings that I have, Meso and Item.
Gotcha. Okay. So
the
working towards like a
like,
damage set.
How do I get another event ring for that?
There's the event ring right now, I think, right? Yeah, slime is definitely one thing you want to be working towards. There is at least one event ring coming out here. If you look at the basic exploration at the end of week 3, there's a ring selector coupon there. So you can get a big event ring there. And there's also, if you look at the in-depth exploration, there's also a legendary scroll for it at the end of week 3 as well.
Oh.
No, 100% legendary scroll for it, so you don't have to pay for tiering it up as well. So that's another big event ring. The other rings you want to be looking for is like Meister rings to craft those. So you'll need the resources from normal Arcarium daily. If you do that'll be very valuable.
Meister.
So basically for dailies, I put in normal Arcarium, normal Ping Bean, and Helix as like your daily bosses. If you could do those real quick, maybe with a drop rate coupon if you have the Legion coins for that, because that'll help you get backups so that when Shining comes around, you can have more items potentially to work on.
You said Meister ring?
Yeah, Meister ring. Yeah. So you craft those with primals, which drop from Arcarium. And they can also drop from harvesting flowers. Do you have any of those right now?
Whenever I see a flower, I harvest it. I just don't know if I have the actual stuff.
It's like a small, shiny... looks like a little iceberg. It's got like a transparent top. The NPC's for 10 mil though, so I don't know if you maybe NPC'd it. I NPC'd my first 2 of them. Because I didn't know. I saw 10 mil and I was like...
Let's be honest. I probably did sell it. Not knowing.
Yeah, it's possible.
I was like, oh, 10 mil.
Oh yeah, I have it on stream here. It looks like this.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So if you have Twisted
So
Times that you do, so you want to keep Twisted Times as well, and Grand Spell Essences. Those are also the important resources. These are basically the 3 that can be the bottleneck if you want to craft those eventually. But I'll craft the Meister Ring, and that has the same stats as the Kana Treasure Ring, like completely the same level, same stats, whatever. So you can, since it's a different item, you can equip both of them, right? So if you can get to like high Star Force on Kana Treasure Ring, a Meister, and then later a Superior and Slime, that'll be a very powerful set. But again, if one of them, if you do end up with an Oz Ring or something from a box early on, then that also means that takes some pressure off. But the main reason and the value of the Meister Ring is because you want to get Kaja Treasure Ring, you want to get one to High Star Force, and then to take pressure off of the Galax coins, you want a High Star Force one to transfer into Superior. And then if you keep getting unlucky with Slime, you want to get another one and transfer into Superior, and then transfer that into Slime. And you have to do tapping in between, and it can go wrong and it can boom, right? So you need a lot of these. So basically the Meister Ring allows you to have a second stack of rings that you can start building to make sure that process doesn't potentially take forever. And that's the same reason why it's really good that those Daybreak pendants came out, right? The new accessories that I talked about earlier, that dropped from Hilla and then later from Saren, is because that's also a level 140 pendant. So that takes pressure off of needing to get the Dominator pendants, which again, drop from Arcarium, right? So that's why that guy's back, and that's why it's an important daily to do. Because that's like the only source you have for Dominator pendants, because he drops a recipe for Dominator pendant, but guess what? That costs you 5 primals each, and those things are just too rare to craft like that. So might not be super pertinent right now, but if you want to go further, you want to go Black Mage, right? You do want to make sure that you are taking all of the little daily steps now to build up a lot of resources in your account, so that when you do get to that part of the game, you have those resources available. So this character, I'm not really aiming for that, but if you look at my account, you look at my backups here, you see I have the Golden Clover belts. That's to try to get High Star Force and transfer it to High Superior belt if I want to do that. I have a lot of Dominators, a decent amount of Dominators. That's to make sure that I can, if I want to, go for a High Star Force transfer hammer into Superior pendant, and after that maybe into Superior and then into the Source of Suffering, which is the Pitch Boss pendant that can drop. So again, they're in a very similar position as the Kana Treasure Rings. And then I save all my Kana Treasure Rings that I got, and I already have a 19 as well. Superior belts, because they can drop straight up from Helix, right? So the belts and the earrings can drop from Helix, and the other 2 you have to buy with coins. But so if I get a lot of Superior belts, I can go just Star Force the belt straight up because I have the backups, and then I don't need these anymore. But until I get a lot of these, I hold on to these belts, right? Once I have like 6 or 7 of these belts, I'll probably just get rid of all of these and create some extra inventory space, because now it's getting pretty full.
Okay, so
same thing for the reinforced.
It's a ladder, really.
Yeah, it's a ladder, exactly, yeah. Same thing for the reinforced.
Goes into the Superior Ring?
Yeah, it's 140 into 150, right? And if you get unlucky with Kana Treasure Rings, for example, you have a new account, your new character doesn't get any Kana Treasure Rings, but you have resources saved up, like primals and stuff from the previous character, you could just go to Meister, make a bunch of Meister Rings, and then you can still make progress even if you get unlucky with the RNG. So those primals are almost like transferable rings in your account, which is kind of cool.
So if I have the Superior Ring and a 21-star Kana Ring, should I put the 21-star Kana to the Superior, even though I have the 17-star Superior?
So if you did that right now, you would lose damage. So ideally, so if you use an item as itself, and it can also be fodder, you also always want to use it first as itself and then as a fodder, because whenever you transfer hammer, you lose that 1 star. And like a 21-star level 140 is always going to be in stat in itself stronger than a 20-star level 150. That 1 star will never that will always make up the difference for the 1 extra star on the extra higher level item. So if you have a lot of Kana treasures backup and you get to the point where it makes sense to go for higher star force in the superior stuff, typically the easier one to do is the belts, right? Because you can get the reinforced belts and the golden clover belts, so you can get to a high star force belt very easily to transfer into superior instead. So that usually happens before. Kana treasure can happen after, but it'll depend on like how many earring drops you've gotten. But they're usually the rings are a little bit before that, yeah.
Okay.
But those can be close to the next step. It's either that or those accessories that I talked about, either Dawn or Sweetwater stuff. that you end up getting, and that you can get to 17 or 19 depending on the backups. Star Force wise, those will be the next projects. Or Arcanes. Those are all, but some of those are RNG and some of those are more set in stone. So at that point, you basically just look at what does life give you. You know, if life gives you lemons, you make lemonade kind of thing. If it gives you Arcanes, well, we're switching to Arcanes. If it gives you a whole bunch of kind of treasure rings, we're making a second 21 and we're trying to get a 20-star superior ring. If it gives you like 6 superior belts, oh, we're working on a 21-star belt and we're not transfer hammering, right? So depending on, when we want to stay flexible, and the reason you can be flexible is because you're doing your dailies and your weeklies and you're giving yourself as many options as possible of hitting. And then wherever you hit, that's where you push. And if you don't hit, that's where you stand, basically.
Okay. I do understand.
Yeah.
I think
It's a lot of
the
pre-work, right? It's a lot of
scenarios-
upkeep. But then if you do that, then the path to where you upgrade actually becomes easier. As long as you prepare well.
I'm just typing these things down.
Yeah, for sure. I'll also upload the video and everything, and we'll
We could
put it
just do
into
that too.
onto YouTube, so you can always double check. But yeah, for some people it's just better learners to write it down. Plus, the act of writing it down gives you an extra tangible thing, right?
So is it? So as I am right now with my bossing stats,
Mm-hmm.
am I good for hard lucid? Am I welcome into a party? Let's just say.
You're probably like at that mark where you can get started. Yeah, I would say personally, like if I were looking at recruiting, I would look at the amount of experience you have with normal lucid. If you can get close to soloing it, if you can maybe like show the achievement of like I've soloed normal lucid, I would take you in a heartbeat in a hard lucid party. If I only have stats to go off of, it becomes a bit more difficult for me to gauge like how strong is someone really, and how well and how strong. I think the more important question is how useful is someone going to be in the boss fight, right? Someone can have 40k stat but have a completely new account and have never tried a boss before and just die out. Or someone can have 20k stat and know exactly what they're doing, right? And it can be like their 5th or their 6th character that gets to that point, and they can be infinitely more useful in a boss fight. So there's a level of you being comfortable with joining, but stat-wise, this is definitely like a solid point. Your ID is a bit low here, though, so you probably want to see if you can get some IDs somewhere. You did show your familiars, right?
Yeah, my familiars are drop rate and Meso.
Yeah, Meister drop rate and item drop rate. Yeah, if you can get 2... So I would just reveal all the familiars you have, because even the regular common ones can get 15% ID lines. If you can get 2 familiars with ID, because you do have some ID in your kit, right? You've got the Grave Proclamation, and then there's also a debuff from the Noble Summons that also adds some ID. And then whenever Weapon Aura is up, which is going to be more now, that also adds some ID. If you can get 2 15% ID lines from revealing familiars, that will get you quite nicely, like around 90% or a little bit above 90% functional, and that will bring up your total damage a lot. I don't know if you went into ID last time.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last time. I just checked. There's 2
Mhm.
presets. The one I have on right now is Meso, but I have preset for 15% ID.
Okay, you got 2 of those?
Yeah, 2 of those.
Okay, and if you summon them, can you check the number?
Yeah, let me here.
15, 15.5. Wait, let me do the master. You hit up like 87, 88?
Go to P.
86.75. 80. Ooh, close to 89? Oh, and I don't know if your Legion grid was set to ID for the picture. For bossing. I don't know if you have only one preset.
Let's see.
Are you selecting the familiars?
Yeah, I did. I put in everything to my Boston 7.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it costs a little bit, but it's good to have the the accurate numbers now.
It's about the reset too, so. And then
Pick up group C level 246 and don't accept. Probably not, yeah. That's also, if you're playing with total randos, they've got like limited information to go off of. If they have some bad experiences with someone who's slightly lower level, they might just not take you. You know.
Stats. Go here. We're at. ID is at 84.48.
As with the familiar summon.
Yeah, unless I'm missing something.
Let's check. I have a checklist as well. Exclamation mark checklist. I use that before I'm mob or boss. The further you go, just the more important it is, right? So first, I've got checking for exolag. That reduces your ping. And then check for synergy rings. If you have more than 5 on, you can't equip more. So that's why I have pets with auto buff. Check for that. BAs and stuff. That's only if you want it. Party status, because if you train and someone else is in a party and they're not even in the map, they will take 40% of your money. So that's also something good to check if you have the right people in the party. The correct equips. So I don't know if you have everything, all of the bossing equips on.
Equips.
Double check. You might have some drop rate stuff on. Maybe the superior Golic set is not on. That's a big, huge difference, right?
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah.
89.14.
There you go. That sounds a lot better. Expiring items like buffs. You have 2 different titles. Does this title give IED? I don't know if you have that one. Oh no, you don't have the other one. So you just have the burning title on, right?
Yeah, just a burning title.
Mm-hmm. Pods, we don't do that one right now. So the right link skills, the right settings on the Legion, the right familiars.
ID, familiars, ID. Yep.
And then the right hyperstats.
Hyperstats. So much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the right hyperstats on.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah, I think it's 89.14.
Okay, so that's already quite a bit better, right? So then you add like the 10% of the Grave Proclamation for functionality, the Noble Summons. That'll help you quite a bit. It's basically because you don't have like an ID line right now on any of your WSE, and because you don't have the huge block yet in Legion, you don't have the 40%. It's adding a little bit lower now. So if you had some ID on a WSE, that would totally be fine. Like if your weapon or your secondary or your emblem had a line of ID along with the current damage, that would increase your overall damage by quite a bit. But until you have that, your Legion and your Legion will mainly be the thing that helps you grow in your ID and increase your total damage output. So yeah, but set-wise, yeah.
That's one thing. I think I'm getting close to getting better Legion. I think I'm almost at 45k. So I think that opens up one more person I can put in, and then I can get more ID from
that. Yeah, I would prioritize for your build. I would prioritize at this point the IED and max that out as far as you can, and the critical damage, and then make sure you have enough crit rate to hit 100, and then anything that's left goes into boss damage, in that order for bossing, considering the ID that you need.
So ID goes to 10, right? And when I'm pushing it past it, it's not efficient to push past that.
For hyper skills, yeah. But I'm talking for. Sorry, I was talking for Legion grid right now.
Oh, Legion grid. Okay.
Yeah. So fill out ID and critical damage. With how many pieces you have, right? So in general, it's get enough crit rate to hit 100% for bossing, and then get enough IED to get to the point where you want to be. Then max out your critical damage, and then rest in boss damage. That's like the general order. So like cross, like ampersand, across the board basically.
So is it better if let's say, because on my hyperstats I had, I think 8 on my strength stat for hyperstat. If I take some critical rate off of my Legion and I put it onto ID, and I just put crit rate into my hyperstat to make up for that, is that better for me in a way that's...
Yeah, exactly. That's a good move. Yeah, because the strength in your hyperstats doesn't get multiplied by percentage stat. It's a flat stat. So that one can be very low. I usually wouldn't get that over 5. Usually it's like level 2, 3, or 4, just for some leftover points if you're leveling slowly. If you're leveling quickly, I wouldn't actually really put anything in strength or in flat attack. because you just want to wait whenever you level and then put the points into the big ticket numbers like critical damage, ID damage, and boss damage to go over 10 essentially. Because the more you kind of like divide those points over other stats, the longer it'll take you to realize that you actually do have enough points to go over 10. But yeah, that's a good move. That's good thinking about it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that might be a puzzle that you need to work on a little bit, like after the session, because it's probably going to be a little bit work for now. But the further and further you go, the more you'll have those dedicated setups for mobbing and bossing, and then it'll just be second nature to be like, okay, I'm going to boss, and then you can use my checklist if you want. You just go down the list, or you can tick a few off if you don't use it, right? And just be like, okay, bam, 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 tick these 4 things, set them up properly, and boom, go in. Especially, for your guild as well, if you're trying to contribute to Culvert or something like that, you want to make sure that you do, you put up a nice score. And then if you consistently have the same build, you can also track your progress through the Culvert and be like, oh, my damage went up, because I can see, sometimes it's difficult in a boss fight to be like, oh, this time I took 12 minutes and the next time I took 10.5 minutes, because there's a lot of RNG. But Culvert is a more controlled environment. So you can see like, oh, I got 1.2. Oh, today I got 900. I must have fucked something up. Maybe I forgot to switch my Legion or something, right? Or I equipped I was still in drop rate gear. Oh, no, I fucked up. But then if you keep the same gear, or if you make a big upgrade, you can see like, oh, my Culvert went from like 1.2 to like 1.6. This is like 30% final damage increase, right? It's a lot easier to kind of track your progress that way. Plus, you're supporting your guild and giving yourself guild skills for the next week as well. So it's a double win.
Yeah, I will definitely use your checklist, because I think as of now it is kind of a lot. So
yeah,
I have to get used to.
Yeah, and it could take it out of your head. Then you don't have to actively think about it every time. Yeah, because you get to attack to 10 here as well. Yeah, if you start taking those points out, you'll start seeing that you can definitely probably take boss damage to 11, critical damage to 11. Because Adele doesn't have that much critical damage, so you scale pretty well off of that as well.
Yeah, so I moved my Legion around. I got to 90% ID.
Yeah, there you go.
And I still have 100% crit rate by applying my hyper stats and taking away from strength as a base.
Yep. Yeah, because if you're at 85%, right, and you're attacking a Lucid, you're getting 45% damage reduction. So you're just dealing barely over half your damage. If you can get to 90 IED, you're getting 30% damage reduction. So you're dealing 70% of your damage. So your damage goes up from 55% to 70%. So just that extra IED is increasing your final damage by like 30% or something, right? Which is, you're putting in the exact same effort, right? But you're just hitting 30% harder just because you switched some stats around. So that's why it's a good idea to have the stats that you've already worked for, but you just have to put them in the right place to make sure that you're not working harder than you need to be.
Okay, that definitely helped push me up for that.
Yep.
I think now I'm just thinking about looking at my link skills. Maybe I can use the food storage to get my Lumium up to where I can get more ID from that too.
Yep. Yeah, the 20% chunk. It's always better to get like extra ID on an existing source than to add an additional one, right? True. If you add 10% to a source that's already 10%, that's more efficient than if you add a new 10% source.
And when I get to 4,500 on my Legion, I get another Legion person I can put in my Legion, right?
Yep. Yeah, as long as you buy the rank up, right? Not just because when you reach the level, you have to buy the because the Legion coins can start adding up.
They can get you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and then once you get the 5K, then you get the bigger grid. So then you expand by another hex, and then 6K is the full grid. So that's one thing you can work on as well, is that the total amount of characters that count for your Legion is 42, so you still have 10 more characters that you could make. If you make 10 more characters to level 100, which doesn't take all that long, right? And you have the 0 to 100 event right now as well, which lets you get 7 characters from 0 to 100, like pretty much instantly. That could be like a free 1,000 levels. So that can get you to 6K a lot closer than you think. And then you can start getting that big chunk of 40 IED. And yeah, then you'll have so much space that then you have to really think like, where do I put the pieces? Because now it's kind of like all cramped together and there's not much that you want to max out. But once you get to 6K, there'll be more space than you know what to do with.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think I was wondering why I had so many level 60s in my creative thing. I was like, what was I doing here?
Yeah, just pumping out levels, right? Yeah, it's easier to get 0 to 60 on something than to get 140 to 200 on another thing, but it's the same gains according to the Legion level, so power and numbers there.
Anything else you want to talk about? I think maybe as of right now, I think I'm good, but for the 10.15 update, Star Force, I'm looking for a certain piece I should be getting. Only based off my backups, right?
Yeah, based off your backups, yeah. So I would do normal pink bean every day, so you can maybe get an extra chance on black bean mark. Arcarium every day to see if you can maybe get dominators and maybe get primals. Just the resources to craft. And do Helix, so you can just get coins, and maybe you can get backups on belts and earrings. And then those things can give you backups. For weeklies, it's definitely going to be like, just basically all the weeklies that you can do, right? But the Princess No Rings are going to be one of the more important things to look at if you want to do the like transfer into superior move. Because like I said, like the big moves are going to be like higher Star Force accessories for damage. It's going to be Arcanes if you can find them. And it's going to be partially like, so just not just the accessories themselves, but like transfer hammering into superior. So like getting fodder for superior. Those are the big three things that can potentially be on the menu for the next event. So whatever you end up hitting will be, or where you have either the most backups for the transfer hammering over, right? Or if you have enough superior drops somehow that you can try on the superior drops themselves, I would say like 3 or more, then you can definitely just try on the piece. And then you can also just try to go for 19, right? Which is way more risk-free than going for 21 on fodder and transferring over. And it's a more limited project you can also do when you're a little bit on a budget. But 17 to 19, even though it is relatively risk-free, it is still really good gains in terms of weapon attack and stat. If you look at the stat window now, you do have attack power and magic attack as separate stats. You can also track there how much progress you're making.
Okay. And cube-wise, am I looking to upgrade because my Abso weapon, I have boss damage with one line attack for 10%. Am I looking to replace that or?
No, I would keep this until Arcane.
Until Arcane?
So if someone was really struggling and your other equips were weak and you were struggling to kill normal monsters, then I would recube it for more damage, because right now a lot of the stats are just working on bosses. But Adele is so strong and you've got enough other stuff going on, you can still kill the monsters all the way up to 260, no problem. I believe in you. So you don't need to rework this, so I would sit on this and then just eyes towards Arcane when it comes to that. You got the flames settled up, so weapon is good now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay. I mean, I'll probably just end up using getting my gold because right now I'd have no backups, so that's
your gold
sucks for me. No, for backups.
Yeah.
So I can't really do Star Force events. Sadly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'll probably just get my drop rate increase so I can get better. Exactly,
yeah. And if you can get like a black beam mark, then you can try, right? You can try sending it, see if it goes. If you can get a backup, so that's why I'm saying definitely try those dailies where you can give yourself as many chances as possible, because it's a week out, but that means 7 pink beans, at least 1 chaos pink bean, 7 arcariums. Power in numbers there if you do as many of those as you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again.
And maybe a boss mule, right? Maybe the Dawn Warrior can make a little bit of gains or so if you have CRA backups there. I'm not sure where that one's at.
Oh, that's true.
Maybe 19 CRA or something. If you have a few backups, that's pretty cheap and good value.
And for my boss mule, I shouldn't push towards like heavy. Like maybe low Lomian, but I'm
it's a good start. Yeah.
Too interested into pushing past CRA.
Do as much as you feel like you have. For it? So I would always say, like, do as many and as far as you have time for in a week. I think for a bossing mule, you just want to aim for half an hour a week and be able to kill as many bosses as you can, make as much money as you can in that half an hour. Because then if you can be in a guild, you can get your guild skills for that character. You can get your ID familiar, so you can maybe work towards like reinforced Golics or something. And with that, you can very easily get into like Lotus and Damien and everything below within half an hour. But you always want to start lower. You want to start with like 3-door, work your way up to 4-door, add HMAG, add Akechi and CPAP, and then go into Lotus and Damien, kind of like those steps. I always try to just start low and then see how much funding I need, slowly work my way up, and slowly increase the amount of characters as I find that I have time for them in the week. If you don't have time for them in the week, then don't build one, because now you've invested money, and that money is just sitting there, right? Now you're going to feel pressure to play it every week to get that money back. So only do that when you really have the time to be doing that during the week, essentially.
Okay. Okay. I definitely think I could do 3 doors on my Dawn Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Maybe 4. But
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll start pushing maybe a 3rd one to a point where it's... But I have to find. I think I'm very particular. So it has to look good. Like Dawn Warrior is just a beautiful character. Adele's the best character. So I don't care, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard for me to pick what class I want to move with. Because I feel like my problem is if I make more characters, I end up liking one character a little too much, and then I invest a little bit too much time into it, where I'm like, maybe I want to just switch to this person, and that's my fear, and that's why I don't invest a lot of time other than my Dell, because I don't want to betray my love, I think.
Yeah, it's easy, so like the grass is always greener in the other meadow kind of thing, right? It's very easy to kind of get complacent and kind of take for granted the things that your Adele can do when you move on to another character. You can see like, oh, this character can do these 3 things that my Adele can't do. But then probably once you get to certain scenarios, you're like, oh, but the character's really shitty here where the Adele is really cool. So then you end up going back. But I don't think there's anything wrong either with finding another character that you like more, maybe even more than the Adele for a period of time. If that really starts to hinder, your goal of getting to the Black Mage, then, you gotta rein that in a little bit. But even a boss mule all the way up to like 240, 250, even now with 6-job coming out up to 260, even if you then end up stopping there, it's just gonna give you a lot of weekly extra income once you can kill the bosses on there, right? So at the end, it comes back down to the time management. I feel like if you log in and you just really feel like playing a Hayato for some reason, then go ahead and play a Hayato, right? Like, ultimately, it's up to you. I feel like you should want to log in at the beginning of the day, and that you should be okay with logging out at the end of the day. As long as you don't feel like you have to log in, and then when you log out, feel bad that you missed a whole lot of stuff. If you get to that point, then I feel like it's time to reassess, like, what am I doing? Where am I going? What dailies am I doing? Like, where's my time being spent, essentially? And then kind of just reevaluate at that point.
Okay. I think my last question would be, I have the damage for Helix, and I know I have the damage for Helix.
Definitely.
I do not understand why I die. I die out. I don't understand it.
So the breath hitbox?
Way too much.
Yeah,
the first phase always is easy for me. Like, it's super easy.
Okay.
But after I get on the platforms,
everything you're getting too close.
So fast that, like, I'm not able to keep up. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like,
so it's 2 things. Yeah, so the main thing for phase 2 is you don't want to get too close to the eyes. If you get too close, you get like the red marks around you, you get inverted, and you just blow up and die. It's like a bomb mechanic. If you're very fast, what you can do, and if you don't have any purple skull debuffs, what you can do as soon as you do get debuffed by that is either iframe and pray, but it has like a variable activation time, so good luck, is inverted jump to the bottom left and go through the portal. That'll cleanse it off, and then you can just leave the boss fight. And then you can just wait for cooldowns to come back, go back in, and just blow it up. So if you want to do it like the easy way, you do P1, you get it to very near death, and then you just leave the boss fight on the bottom left. Again, you make sure you don't have any purple debuffs yet, but as long as you don't have any, you can leave the map again on the bottom left. You just wait for all of your cooldowns to come back. You go back in, finish off the chin, and then just nuke the eyes, and then just blow up the boss, essentially, if you get strong enough, and if you want to do it the easy way.
Okay, so for phase 1, I shouldn't use, like, a ton of bursts, like my infinity blades,
Depends on how
and
strong
stuff
you
like
are.
that?
It's possible that you need all of it to get her very close to death, and then just wait 3 minutes outside and then come back in.
Okay.
I have to see how strong you are exactly. But you probably get... Yeah, you could probably kill it if you pop all your burst, right? The Chin just dies with that.
Yeah, he just dies when I pop all my bursts. But
Yeah.
when I get the platform, like I'll like be
Mhm.
concentrated on DPS, and then all of a sudden I see a hand, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
crap, and then
So-
oh crap, dead.
There's two things you can do to minimize that. So do you use skill transparency?
I do semi-skill transparency.
Yeah, so usually for your graphics, I put it all the way down to the minimum because specifically for Golix, you want to be able to see the eyes. As soon as the eyes light up, you know he's doing a skill. But it's harder and harder to see, especially with Adele. Even with minimum visibility, through some of the skills, the whole map is just like orange, like pink, purpley, right? And it's kind of hard to see. The second thing you can do is you can change your damage. So on graphics as well, your damage effect, and put them on mini blade effects. That way, all of the lines of damage are all put into one line, so they don't take up a lot of space on your screen. So they'll also give you extra visibility in boss fights. So definitely do those two things for Helix, because Helix does not have a practice mode, and Helix does not have 3-day entry, because it's not KMS. You just have 1 entry per day, and if you die out, you lose your run for the day. So that one is way more punishing. If you're standing on a middle platform, always stand a little bit to the left behind the portal, right? If you're too close, then you can get hit by that bomb tech that I talked about. If you're just behind that portal, you can still hit him with cleave, but that skill won't hit you anymore. So you won't die to that. So if you see his eyes light up, he's gonna do something. But there's different animations, so spend a few runs to definitely look very clearly at the eyes and what the animations mean, and when the hand happens, just up jump. And then by the time you land, the hand will be gone. There's other ways of going about it. You could also like resonance rush to the side. You could feather float backwards, right? That will also teleport you back and get you out of there. Sometimes people go down when the hand comes down, so you can maybe put Rain of Destruction, or you can put a skill down to kill the potatoes. But if you're very strong, you don't really have to worry about the potato stacks. You just have to worry about breaking through P2 faster. But I think one of the things that can definitely help you is make sure that you don't kill P1 all the way. Leave a little bit of HP. Make him attack to the right and then jump to the left. Jump past him. Go through the portal. Wait for your cooldowns to come back. Jump back in. Finish the chin. Maybe use Infinity Blade at the beginning of P2 so you can immune the bomb because the startup is an iframe, right? Then go back up to your platform. Put it in Rain of Destruction. Put down a Rune. Put down a Storm. And just nuke P2 and P3 basically. That'll probably be the safer way for you to go about it.
So after P2,
Mm-hmm.
because I've never got to P3.
Mm-hmm.
After
It's just a
P2,
crystal
it's
up top,
just-
and it's really weak compared to the other two.
And it's just a DPS. I remember it being a DPS check from carries, but it's like
Yeah,
there's no animations like I have to dodge or anything, or
there's still damage, but there's no like crazy animations or nothing you can really look for. There's just damage every now and then. But there is still like that red bar that runs down. You have to kill it within the red bar. But the HP part of the chin and the eyes now is way more than the HP part of the crystal. So if you can get to P3, you can definitely just destroy it. It's super easy. The only thing that could potentially happen is that you build up more. Then if you build up to 5 of the purple stacks from the little potatoes walking through the middle, then you die from that. So if you do get like 2 or 3, then make sure you go down and clear the potatoes every now and then and go back up. But it should be pretty quick.
okay. Let me give it a try.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. No problem.
Another year down.
Yeah. Yeah. Another new chapter opened. So yeah, you'll be Black Mage in no time. But yeah, of course, there's a lot from where we talked about now to getting to Black Mage. But hopefully you're like set in the right direction with some more steps on things to look for. And you know, if there's ever any other questions, you know where to find me.
Well, thank you for everything.
Yeah, no worries. Best of luck, and I'll see you around. Okie dokie. Nice long session, so you guys can, for all the returning players and maybe the new players who maybe not quite at this stage yet. Of course, if you're working on bossing mules, you'll learn a lot from building your first character out. You'll learn where you can cut some corners. You'll learn where to put extra emphasis. And the more money your account makes, of course, the more you can kind of look towards skipping the Meso part of the equips that we were talking about and more aim directly for the drop rates. So you can get your backups faster because all of your money will be coming through your bossing mules, and you don't really need to get the Meso obtained on the main character anymore. Unless you're a grinder, you want to hard grind on your characters, then you want to make as much money as possible while you're training because you don't have the time to do all those bossing mules. So then you want to have a different priority there. If you like the session, I'm glad. If it was helpful for you, I'm even more glad. If you'd like one of these sessions for yourself, make sure you leave a comment with your Discord name and saying that you would like to win. And by the end of the month, which is soon, I could draw your name from the hat. You could be one of the 2 lucky winners who get one of these sessions for free. If you don't have that kind of patience, check out !coaching in the chat, or just hit me up for the coaching information, and we can set up one of these sessions for you as well. Other than that, if you need any of these resources that we are talking about, any of these commands, these are all available in my Twitch chat, twitch.tv/Scardor. You can see the chat up there on top left being very helpful and not memeing at all. Always super serious in here. No fun time, only super serious number, min-maxing, crunching time. That was irony for the people who didn't get that. And you can be there as well for the live sessions if you check me out on Twitch. Otherwise, just check out any of the other videos. But yeah, there you can use the commands. You can always find all of this information. It's available for everyone at any time, even when I'm offline. So feel free to use that at your leisure, as they say. Other than that, thank you for watching this whole thing. Hopefully it was useful, and I'll see you in the next one, or I'll see you live over at Twitch. See ya.